recording.
Really?
You got like 15 seconds to kill.
Whole
them.
15 seconds, yeah.
You missed my poop story, Pat.
Did I?
Andre got it.
Yeah.
Wait, we're
It was
clapping
actually
when? Sorry.
30 and 35.
30
Okay.
So 3 seconds.
Wonderful.
I had to do claps for my work podcast yesterday, and I had the person on the other end had to clap we had to do it like 4 times. She would clap once and then be like, "Oh, I forgot I had to clap again." It's like, how do you keep doing this?
Multiple times in a row. That's fun.
Yep.
Lovely. Is that picture the one you just sent us with
Yeah, it
Mocha?
is. I couldn't get it to pan up. It's not the one of Mocha. It's just the one of.
I thought that was a wall, and there was a big ass like spider or like bug over your shoulder. And I
That'd
was
be
like,
cool.
oh my god! And I was like, wait, no, this is.
Wish I had some more big ass spiders to kill the fruit flies that have been everywhere in here. We don't even have like gross fruit or anything. I don't know why they're here.
That happens. I get that too.
Yeah, it's just because we started keeping more fresh vegetables around. So,
Yeah. West Coast things.
yep.
Are you thinking of a stupid joke, Andre,
No.
to keep us on our toes?
Oh well, yeah. But what's it gonna be today? Favorite pin number, baby. Stalks ourselves.
Favorite social security number?
Buster, I don't know what you need, kitty.
See, I had one like a couple days ago, and it's gone.
What were the big memes of the week? There was the cat lawyer. There was
I mean,
the
I saw it, but I didn't look at it.
parish council.
That poor cat. That cat
fucking-
lawyer's. It's either gonna go really well for him, like from notoriety, or it's gonna like be really bad for him.
I imagine it was really endearing. I imagine it'll
least-
go okay.
No one knows what his face looks like.
Yeah, that's
True.
true.
So if I hired that lawyer, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, you're the cat lawyer," until we're probably like a ways in, until we have a Zoom call.
Until he
Yeah,
says, until he says, "I'm ready to proceed"
Yeah.
or whatever,
It's,
or "I'm prepared to continue" or whatever he said. I can't remember.
there was Weetabix and beans this week.
The what?
Weetabix and beans, that whole like British thing. But like I was like, this just looks like British food. Like I don't know why everyone's freaking out about Weetabix and beans. I don't even know what Weetabix is. It looks
right, the bread thing, right?
One of
what is it? What is
Alyssa's
Weetabix?
favorite memes.
The breakfast cereal and they put beans on top. It's like shredded wheat,
Yeah.
but they put beans on shredded wheat.
One
Right,
of
that's what it was.
Alyssa's favorite memes is cool England fact. It sucks, and it has just some random British stuff tiled together.
Yeah.
We should go down this hole, especially when Sam isn't here.
Yeah, no, I won't do that.
Here's another reason England sucks. The channel.
The channel's cool.
I know, it's funny.
I wish I had a channel somewhere.
All right. Shall we begin?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's on you. I'm ready whenever.
No, it's okay. Hello and welcome to episode 159 of the Gaming Fix podcast on February 13th, 2021. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Final Fantasy. I am joined today by Pat.
I think she's into. I don't know if. I guess probably like 8. She'd probably be an 8. person.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta hang out. Alex.
I've been really into 14. I don't think that's a surprise for anyone.
Okay. No recency bias there.
No, it's just really good. I also like 8, but
Okay, that's good. Let's put some respect on that game. And special guest this week joining us, the podcaster formerly known as Bread, August.
Hey guys, how you doing?
hey.
probably outing myself here, but I haven't played a ton of Final Fantasy. So
Oh, that's okay.
starting off on the
Yeah,
wrong
that's
foot,
fine.
maybe.
No, they're good. We're
Well,
not a Final Fantasy
okay.
podcast.
Got like
Well-
a Crystal Chronicles. Got a
Safe.
So that bears in mind a very good question. Where should someone start in 2021 if they've never played a Final Fantasy?
They should wait for Final Fantasy 16
No, you could
or
play.
Final Fantasy 7 remake.
No, you should play
No.
This is one I haven't played. You should play Final Fantasy 6 because it was the last. Like it was a culmination of the
How,
like
how
2D
are you
Final
going to play
Fantasies.
that? How is a normal person going to play that game?
I am confident that August would be able to find a way to play Final Fantasy 6. I'm not going to explain how I would go about that because the FBI could be watching, but
Might
I
have
would
to get scurvy.
yeah, like Final Fantasy 6 is and again, I haven't played that one, but it's like the one that's all like
It's the last 2D
everyone
one.
loves. Yeah. And then you can play 8 and then you're done.
Yep. If you really wanted, you could start with 7 OG and then go to 7 remake to see what the hype is all about.
I love 7 and obviously I loved 7 remake based on our game of the year, it being number 3 on our list. It was number 3 on my list, but it's also very, I don't know if it's the best of those games for 2021 to start with.
No.
It's pretty
I would say probably not.
yeah, it's rough, and I maintain that the remake doesn't really carry the same weight if you haven't played the original one, but
Totally.
it's a good game.
That makes sense.
14 is really good. It's an MMO, but you get for free, you get to the end of the first expansion, and it's a really great story.
The problem, my cat is like all over me. The problem with 14 for me is its story is really good, and I know that it gets really cool to play, but the first like 50 hours is so boring. It's not fun to play because you push a button to enter combat and then you watch your guy like swing a sword every like 15 seconds, and
It depends on your
it depends on
job.
your class. Yeah. But unless you pick a class that is specifically like very skill oriented, and then even still it's still like a WoW like kind of like you're still playing hotbar button pushing. So I don't know.
You should try the Dancer. That one's insane. It's fun.
Maybe I will. I'm gonna play it when that 4K update hits for PS5.
Yeah. So
I could
August.
Yeah.
You are a fellow podcaster. What is your fellow podcast?
Well, not about Final Fantasy, clearly. But the podcast I run is called Bread Radio. Why bread? It's kind of a long story. The short story is basically I used to work in a kitchen, and there was this guy that delivered bread every morning. You know, it was right when I was getting into like podcasting and Twitch and deciding to like do my own thing. And he would come in every morning and go, "Bread morning, it's bread time." And I thought that was hilarious for some reason. So much like all success stories in the US, I stole that from him and started first it was It's Bread Time, and then I decided I solely wanted to do podcasts and started Bread Radio. So Bread Radio is a podcast with video games. We kind of go off the rails quite often, my co-host and I, one of my good friends, Greg. And
Gary.
so and our buddy Gary, our microtransactions guy. But no, thanks for having me on. We'll have to return the favor sometime for sure. It's great finding some other people to talk games about because Greg and I end up in our own echo chamber pretty easily. So
For sure. It's nice having this crew of people because we're all have like disparate interests. We overlap in places, but we're like, we just hear about the most like disparate things from this group of people that it's just like, I've never heard of this. This is not something I would ever look at, but okay, sure.
You don't have to subtweet me like that.
I mean, this goes for everyone. And like, I do the same thing. But it's nice to have someone else who has worked in a kitchen in here. Now I can tell.
Definitely.
I can tell.
I worked in a kitchen.
Okay, I never came up. I guess I don't know. So in kitchens, it's very important to like state where you are. Like behind, coming around the corner. Like corner. And when
so you can prepare with your knife to kill them.
Right.
But so when people would yell corner in the kitchen I was working in, I would always respond corner. I barely know her.
Oh my God. You were younger then.
That would get old right away.
This was 4 years ago.
Andre.
Three and a half years ago.
To be clear, did you say this every time?
80% of the time.
Okay.
Oh boy.
And so it caught on with my friend, my work dad, who was only like less than a year older than me, or maybe just over a year older than me. And so they started saying corner, I barely know her. And then they were giving a tour to a new employee, and they said it in the middle of the tour, and the employee was just like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Oh no!
Oh my God!
That was a good time.
I've noticed a Venn diagram of folks that have like worked in a kitchen and podcasters, and maybe it's because when you're in the kitchen you have time to listen to podcasts. At least for me, that's what it was. I was like, this is great. Now I have a bunch of thoughts about this topic, and I need a medium to get it out. So that's kind of why I ended up starting my own. And I've since left the industry, but it was just that vehicle for me, you know.
I had the double. I worked in a kitchen in a cafe that was tiny kitchen. We didn't actually have enough of a corner anywhere to say corner. But
barely know her.
But I also worked in the market that we maintained next door, and did a bunch of like prep work there and like cut stuff there and stuff. So I was almost always, I worked that job like 40 to 50 hours a week in college, and I was pretty much always listening to like a podcast or something. So I think that tracks.
Yeah,
I wish I could have listened to podcasts during my shitty kitchen job. College
where I worked, it was because I could do whatever I wanted, because if they fired me, there would be no one to work at the restaurant.
That was kind of similar to me too. It was more like one day I didn't ask if I could just start listening and stuff. I just did, but because I showed up every single day and like we had such high turnover, I ended up being like the highest tenured person there. My boss was just like, do whatever you want, man. I'm just glad you're here. It was like,
totally.
Sweet.
I somehow managed my way into like a supervisor position, like a student supervisor position. And I should not have had that, but personality got me there, not skill. Because I was there for like 3 months, and one of the managers was like, "Hey, you should apply for this job." I'm like, okay.
I need to put that on my LinkedIn. Personality got me there, not skill.
Yeah, I was not fully trained at all. I didn't know how to make coffee for like a year, even after being trained for like the supervisor position. Even though I was like routinely put in charge of the cafe, I was like, I don't know. These kids know how to do it.
Do you want drip coffee or drip coffee?
Yeah, I could do drip coffee. I was like, the latte, no idea.
That sounds like a fast track to imposter syndrome.
Did we start talking about my current job as I was jumping up to feed the cat?
No, we were talking about Andre's ascension to higher places through pure just.
It wasn't even
chance.
Imposter syndrome, because I knew, I was like, there's no reason that I should have this job other than like I have good personality and like right place, right time, I guess. Yeah, it was, whatever. But this is not a job podcast.
Speaking of podcasts.
Yeah, video games.
Yeah.
We played them. How about August? You go first. What did you bring this week to talk about?
Oh man,
I know Pat's excited about it.
I am. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, so there's this game that came out this week that kind of caught, I don't want to say the internet by storm. That's kind of.
They sold 1 million copies.
Sold 1 million copies already. And anyway, I'm bearing the lead. Valheim.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Out on Steam, I think only right now. It's early access. And the only thing, I'll try and keep it brief because I can probably talk about this game for a long time. I really enjoy it.
We talked about it a little bit last week because I've been playing it as well pretty extensively.
Right.
But I listened to your most recent episode until you were talking about Valheim because I wanted to participate in the conversation really bad and was like, and we'll be able to. So
Nice.
to preserve the wanted to hear your thoughts from you. So, yeah.
Right. Well, the way I look at Valheim, and you look at screenshots, you watch the video, and you're like, okay, it's another one of those, right? It's a survival. It's a survival game with an art style. And you're like, okay, what's so impressive about it? It's got a $20 price tag. But once you get into the game, there are some key differences between it and other survival games that I've played that just improve the quality of life enough for me that the gameplay loop is just it's great. For example, food as a resource in survival games is one of my least favorite mechanics in video games because you're just constantly having to monitor your health. For example, like in Minecraft, like that's probably like the best example. If you don't have food, you have a food meter, it goes to 0, and then you start losing health. In Valheim, food serves as a buff.
Yep.
So you can, if you don't want to interact with food for a little while, you don't necessarily have to. Could you get one hit by enemies? Yes. But if you're just building in your camp and you have a wall set up or something, you don't necessarily need to worry about those resources, which is great. And then if you're going out into the world, you can eat food to raise your health and your stamina meters. So like that's just one of the quality of life things in Valheim that I just really enjoy.
It's so smart too, because you can eat 3 different kinds of food and different kinds of food have different bonuses to health and different bonuses to stamina. So you might go for like a stamina heavy diet before you go out to go do something. If you're like going to go mining and eat like the stamina high foods and not have as high a health, but you can swing your pickaxe for longer, or you might want to go into a dungeon and eat a more balanced selection of food.
Like
it's just super cool.
A balanced breakfast?
I don't think there's cereal. They should put cereal in. Carrot
I don't
soup.
think there's cereal yet. Yeah, there's carrot soup, but it's basically like your fruits and your veggies improve your stamina, and your like meat byproducts improve your health stat.
There's also no decay on the food, which is great.
Yes.
Having played a lot of ARC last year, you log in after 3 or 4 days because we didn't turn our server off every night. You log in after every 3 or 4 days, and you have just like enormous piles of rotten meat in your
just
chest,
like real life,
because it rots. But in Valheim, the food doesn't decay or go away. Your food meat, like you have to keep eating, but the food in your inventory doesn't decay.
Okay, the question, does that seem like a deliberate choice by the devs? Like, does that seem like they wanted it that way, or is it like a feature they will implement in the future?
No, they wanted it.
I think they know they have the secret sauce with that. There are 2 other key things that Valheim does. I'll probably think of more because if it's not clear, I really like this game. Compared to other survival games that I think set it apart. I mean, it's got a ton of RPG elements. So just like a Skyrim, you gain skill points by doing something. You gain skill points by using your axe. You gain club skill by using a club or a mace or a hammer, for example. Jumping skill, swimming skill. Skyrim. You can play it on your mini fridge. You can't play Valheim in your mini fridge yet, but Skyrim you can. Yet. So like the RPG elements and having there are like 5 world bosses. I've beat a couple with my buddies. It's co-op focused rather than PvP focused. You can play PvP, but that's not necessarily the spirit of the game. So that's one of the things that's kind of kept me away from a Rust, for example. Like I don't really need to deal with griefing. I'm just there to have a time with my pals, so that's been great. And the other thing I'll say, it's kind of related to resourcing with food. All of your items do degrade. So if you have a pickaxe, a bone pickaxe, for example, it'll degrade faster than a bronze pickaxe, which will degrade faster than an iron pickaxe. Yeah, pickaxe. That's my new item. Valheim has it all. I'm not kidding. But again, I guess I'll use Minecraft as a comparison. It's the most recent like survival game I've played. Instead of your axe just breaking and you have to go build an entirely new one, you essentially just need to hone the edge. So you go back to your workbench and you repair your item, and that repair cost is 100% free.
Yeah.
So you don't end up in that resource chug where you're constantly like, like you have a diamond pickaxe, your diamond pickaxe breaks, you don't have any more diamonds, you have to go on a 3-hour escapade to find more diamonds and build a pickaxe just so you can do what you were doing. Now you can just go back, repair your items, and get back right to what you were doing, which is great, because you still have to be thoughtful about what you're bringing with you, because it does take a while to get around the world, but it doesn't punish you for using your items, which I really, really appreciate.
It's very satisfying when you repair when you come back from a long adventure and you repair a bunch of stuff, because you can just fast click the repair button and it goes like ding, because it plays like a little ding noise when you repair stuff.
Yeah.
So it's especially funny when I'm like working the smelter and I hear someone come back. I'm playing with 3 other friends. I hear someone come back and just like hammer the repair button from outside.
It's a global sound, so people can hear it. That's great.
Yeah, if you're nearby, yeah.
Okay, so
it's
like, I don't.
Yeah,
oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't.
I would say too. Sorry,
we have some lovely latency going on with our call today. I love it.
Yeah.
Go for it, Pat.
I also had somebody trying to get up. Yeah, the other thing I would say too is it's difficult to get around the world the first time, because you are exploring and it's dangerous. So, you're kind of like picking through, especially once you get to like the swamp biome. That place is rough. Man. So
we just got that.
Yeah, so you're like picking through the swamps, and there's stuff that can one-shot you if you don't have good armor, even if you've eaten a fair bit of stuff. Once you've kind of explored some, you can put down portals, which are relatively affordable, and then you can just kind of warp around the world. But it's smart because you can't take ore, which is sort of the thing you need to progress through the world to make yourself stronger anyway, because you can get better equipment with it. So you still have to run the ore back by hand, because it won't let you teleport if you're holding it, which is kind of a cool way to tackle that problem.
Yeah, I don't think it can be stated enough that like the sense of progression in Valheim just feels very good. To your point, in the swamp, things just one hit you, but in the first couple of areas in the Black Forest, for example, which is I think the second area, there's some enemies in there that are pretty treacherous. Like, you have to be very wary if you just started the game, and now I can run through it without worrying at all. So like, slowly feeling yourself get more and more powerful without even kind of realizing it, and then moving from zone to zone, it feels really, really good.
Yes, totally.
Great mechanic.
Yeah. So the thing I was going to say earlier, and I don't want to be reductive, is like, it sounds like the devs had a list of favorite games, and then they just kind of made a mashup of all of them, like the parts they liked best, and like that's kind of awesome, because I think something about any creative industry really, but games in particular, is you're never really going to have that original of an idea, right? Like something has been made that at least has parts of this before at some point. And so these guys are just wearing, guys and ladies, I don't know, it's a four-person
team from Sweden, I want to say. Yeah.
And they're just wearing their influences right on their sleeves, and it's like, it seems like it's got some Terraria in there, like you said. It seems like it's got Skyrim in there. It seems like it's got a bit of Monster Hunter in there, to a manner of speaking. Like a little
with
bit
the boss spawning, there's a little bit of that, because you're fighting big, huge bosses. They feel a little more like WoW raid bosses to me than like a Monster Hunter monster. But yeah,
right, yeah. It definitely, like, we took on a boss the other night, and it was like 5 or 6 of us, and we'd clearly underprepared. There were some enemy spawners around, and it ended up feeling like an actual raid. We were fighting that thing for about an hour, because we were underpowered and we had other enemies chasing us. It was mayhem, but like the sense of accomplishment once we finally like down the boss felt pretty damn good.
We had a really fun, I mean, it was probably the same boss, but we spawned the first time and almost died because we were like not prepared, and then we ran away, and it didn't they don't despawn when you run away.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we didn't either. And so then we came back like loaded for bear, and we're like, okay, well, we're gonna guess that because of what this boss is, that bringing fire arrows is going to be a smart call. So everybody brought their best bow with fire arrows, and sure enough, that was like smart preparation, and we ended up winning without anybody going down, but it still felt like we were always like one misstep away from somebody dying because of how much damage it would do. So this is really cool. It felt like really good accomplishment. And the boss fights look so cool because they have like heavy metal starts playing and stuff. Right. And
so if someone does go down, is it a respawn, or is there any kind of like get them up mechanic? Like down,
it's like
down,
Dark Souls.
Oh, okay.
Your corpse doesn't disappear if you die again, so you can go back and get it, but you only have a marker on your map for your most recent corpse. Gotcha. So if it's somewhere really dangerous, you can keep trying to go get your stuff, but you have to mark on your map. You also lose progress towards the next level of skill for whatever your skills are. So when you get to high levels where it's taking like a long time to fill up that XP bar, dying has a greater consequence. Right. But you don't lose your stuff. It's not possible to lose your stuff unless you die in such a bad place that you can never get it back.
For example, my buddy died out in the ocean
that's
last Saturday or something. Well, he was still early out. He was still learning the game, so he had a raft and he decided to try and take it out as far as he could into the ocean, and he encountered a sea serpent. And needless to say, raft versus sea serpent did not go well. But you could, every time we sail past that particular area, you can still see his little tombstone just
because they float on the top of water.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that's kind of wild. Nothing really despawns. Like if you go somewhere and chop down a tree and don't pick it up, that tree kind of just stays there.
Yeah.
Forever. It's pretty wild, like the continuity throughout the world map.
We're wondering at what point the server is going to start to chug.
Yeah, totally. Like that sounds like a memory leak to me.
It hasn't been a problem yet, and the game is a very lightweight. Like it's not. It's only like 2 gigs or something like that of space. So hopefully the server has enough RAM that we're using a G Portal server. Hopefully it has enough RAM that it's not gonna collapse under its own weight. But the maps are really big, so yeah.
I think we've just scratched the surface, and I'm still learning more. It's one of the sense of discovery in that game's great.
Yeah, the last thing I want to point out for people that might like finally tip someone over the edge that's listening is my favorite thing I think so far about the game is the ways in which you acquire resources changes from so far anyway. I don't know how it changes after the swamp, but the first couple biomes, it's like, oh, we found a copper vein and we found a tin vein so we can make bronze, and we're hitting it with pickaxes and taking the ore to camp. Standard survival game stuff. Once you hit the swamp and you need iron, you have to start going in dungeons to get it specifically. It only appears in dungeons. So it changes from being a standard, like, oh, run around in the woods and try to find a copper vein, to being more of a like, okay, well, we have to prep to go get some iron because these dungeons are rough in the swamp and we need to kind of go in as a group, and we need to have poison resist because there's lots of poison enemies there. So I think that's a really cool, it's cool that you're not just looking for ore forever in increasing difficulty areas.
Sorry, Alex, I cut you off a second ago. You were going to mention something, I think.
No, it's all good. At this point, I'm just going to say it sounds like a neat game. It's not normally my kind of game. I'm not usually into survival games, but it seems like something worth playing. Like, is it like, what would you say is the minimum amount of folks you should have on a server? Like, is it something you could do with 2 people? Is it better with 4, 8, whatever?
Your mileage may vary, I guess, is what I think. It's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think the enemies scale, I think, depending on whoever's in the server. So like there are people that are just playing solo, which is fine. I like playing with multiple people because stamina becomes a really important part of fighting like some of the bosses. And if you run out of stamina stamina you use for your bow, you use for running, you use for jumping, you use for swimming. So if you run out of stamina in a boss fight, sometimes having someone there to kite the boss for you while you like take a potion or regen or run back a little bit is helpful. But we have about like 10 to 12 folks in our server, and at max we'll have like 6 or 7 in any one time. But there are people in there playing solo, 2 people. It's pretty versatile.
I think, say for the best experience to play with like 3 to 5 people, like as your group sizes, but then the max that you can have on a server at any time is 10, which is, I think, another reason why the game is really good and easy to get into is something like Ark. I touched on this, I think, last week a little bit, but like when we were playing Ark, I was playing with a 4-person group. We had a lot of fun, but that game is designed for large groups. So all of its bosses are actually like WoW raid bosses where you need 20 to 30 to 40 people to kill the boss. So for us, the only way we would be able to do that content is to cheat or to change server settings that I didn't have fun trying to find the right balance on. So Valheim is great because it really does scale to the number of people you have. And it, at max, you're going to play with 10 people at a time.
It's cool.
Yeah. But I think, how long is the tail of this game? I'm not sure. I mean, I already have maybe 30 hours in this.
Yeah, like 40, I think.
And I'm only in the 3rd area, and I know there are 5 world bosses. There are a couple other areas I've seen on like a stream or two. I'm not trying to like spoil that much for myself or anyone else at this point. But I feel like I've played for 30 hours, and I honestly feel like I'm getting to some of the more meaty sections, and that's exciting for me.
Yep. Yeah. And, it's set to have, it's an early access release, which is one of the craziest parts of it, is that they have 4 more biomes, I want to say, that are planned for the early access period. And they've said probably that'll happen over the course of the next year. And then they have their roadmap's pretty cool. It's a bunch of stuff on it.
I have one last question, because otherwise we'll be on this for 3 hours. And not that that's a bad thing. It sounds really cool. But do you know how long they were developing it for? Like, is this kind of something so it's been like they've been working on this for like 2 or 3 year kind of thing, and now they're putting it out?
They've been working on it in an alpha state for, I think, 2 to 3 years. Yeah. And I think it was like a side gig for them. They were accepting donations through their itch, and you could like pay and get the alpha. But this early access release is kind of the first big, huge overhaul to the game that they've done a long time, and they got picked up by Coffee Stain Studios, makers of Satisfactory and Goat Simulator.
Deep Rock Galactic.
It's publishers of Deep Rock, yeah.
Deep Rock, publishers, yeah.
Yeah, and so the Coffee Stain has pretty good taste when it comes to what they publish, I would argue, at least, because Deep Rock is also very, very good. Yeah, so I'm pretty psyched for the future of it, because it's clearly successful.
Yeah, my last thought on this is they've done early access right. Like, it feels like the price point's fantastic. The value you get for that price point, for me, price point isn't as important, but I know that's a discussion a lot of folks like to have. But it's right there in that sweet spot, and it feels like a complete game, and there's still more to come from what I see on their slated roadmap.
It was very easy to get 3 friends. I was actually one of the people that somebody else got. I will pick up. One of my friends comes to me and says, "Hey, we can play this game. Even if it's just for a few hours, I'll pay $20. To me, that's worth it." Mm-hmm. But a couple of the people in that group of my friends that I'm playing with are like, they like only buy games on sale, and they hem and haw a lot about the purchase, which is totally fair if, budgets are a thing. But this one, because it's $20, was the reason why everyone was willing to jump in on it. Certainly
low
got
barrier to entry, good quality game. So.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing I brought to the table for you guys, because I kind of just wanted to hear what you guys thought about it. There's been only negative press about it, and for some reason I ran upstream and bought one. I don't know why, but Google Stadia. It's been bad news story after bad news story for this game, and I think we have some stuff on the news for it today. But I was just so curious about the text, or the tech rather, and the tech works, right? And I think I've said I don't think Google's going to be the one to lead cloud gaming. You look at Xbox with xCloud, and PlayStation with PS Now, and GeForce I think has GeForce Now. But I'm just curious if any of you guys have tried any sort of like cloud gaming before.
So I think the short version is anytime we've talked about Stadia, the takeaway we have has basically been the tech seems amazing. Like legit, the tech is really amazing and
when
fantastic
it works.
and when sure, but your mileage may vary.
But it doesn't work.
But,
I mean,
depends on the situation. Like for someone like Pat, where it generally doesn't work.
Well,
when I did the beta, when they were doing like Project Stream, it worked for me when I was at my mom's house, but I can't do it here in Japan.
Funny is, well, I'll let you finish. I have a lot of thoughts on the tech side of it too.
Yeah, but I think from the programming side of it, from the infrastructure side of it and all of that, it's really impressive. And there's a lot of technology there that is amazing. But the thing that kills it is the service side. The structure and just the general approach to things. From the start, it's always seemed like it's just been misguided in terms of how they're structuring what Stadia Pro really gets you versus, it should it seems like it should be a subscription service to get, access to games, kind of like what Luna's trying to do. And, Xbox Game Pass for all that with xCloud and all that. So
really, it's more just a subscription to renting a console. And then you still have to buy games for the console, but you don't own the console.
That's kind of where and they're
so expensive too. Some of the games are more expensive on Stadia than they are on PC or console.
Right.
And I think the tech breaks down for me in the it may be programmed well, but they're asking developers to port games to it.
Yeah.
And developers don't want to do that because there's no install base really. And
we'll get to the story soon.
Yeah, and I think my negativity around the tech has largely been that I played through Red Dead Redemption 1 on PS Now before Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. I had a great experience. My connection was great for it. There's a tiny bit of artifacting here and there, but other than that, it was perfect. I played Stadia on the same my computer, but it's also hardwired to my router, and Stadia runs like crap for me. So I think
interesting.
It varies so much based on your proximity to data centers. And I tried to play PUBG on Stadia and it looked horrible. It looked like the mobile version of the game. And there was so much video artifacting. It was impossible to play it with the latency issues. So I think it just depends. I think these services can be a really fantastic option for people who can't or don't want to purchase a PC or a console and just want to play on their phone or something. But I think the issue I have with Stadia's tech is that it's so uneven what your experience is going to be. And it doesn't feel it feels like already Microsoft and Sony are doing it better than Stadia and Google is in terms of the tech side, even though the initial promise of Stadia seemed really cool because they were going to do unique things. They just really haven't. So I don't know.
So, and there's a thought that I heard on this podcast called Red Radio, I think, where one of the hosts had mentioned something about how it seemed like they might be Google might be 5 years early on this. And I tend to agree because to expand upon that, I think streaming is the future. As one August said from Bread Radio, that streaming probably will be the future. It's just that I think the infrastructure for most of the states and North America and probably the world to a certain extent
is
just
where
isn't there.
Most of this stuff is rolled out. You can get Stadia in the UK. As far as I know, it's not available in Asia. But and that's where big market increase is going, and that's a lot of mobile stuff, and that's that helps with the the streaming stuff.
Is it out in India? Because that would be a huge market for them.
I don't know. No idea. That would make sense because they're just about to launch the PS5 in India.
Yeah. No, it is not in India. That's surprising.
I figured it's basically North America, UK.
But with
Europe,
Stadia in particular, if you live in a rural area, which is an enormous number of people, especially in Asia, you're not going to be able to use it. It's going to, you could probably use it to play XCOM or something that's very, very turn-based and slower paced, but
Asia, a lot of Asia is still like China, India is still like an emerging market for a lot of this stuff. So like even just getting metropolitan areas for them would be like a big thing. But I
just a tough
sure. I think it's interesting that I haven't really seen anyone talk about Luna like at all.
Yeah.
Like I know it's like in beta.
If
I'm
honest, I have no idea what that is.
It's just Amazon's version.
But it's a subscription service where you're subscribing for like a library of games instead of paying for the privilege of playing the games you bought in 4K.
You can subscribe to you can subscribe to what they call channels. So like one of the big channels they have is the Ubisoft channel now. So like you get all these Ubisoft games.
It's worth noting if you get Uplay Plus, I want to say, or Ubisoft Connect, whatever the hell they're calling it now, you get that stuff on Stadia. Like the Luna subscription stuff isn't that vastly different than Stadia's Pro model because but it is different.
Luna's more like a Game Pass than Stadia.
Stadia
like,
Pro is like PS Plus kind of. I mean, you get a bunch of games.
You still like other games you have to buy. Or Luna, you're not buying games. You're just paying the subscription. You just have.
They don't have any way for you to purchase games at all.
As far as I know, it's just a library.
Yeah, that would be different for sure.
As far as I know.
That definitely seems like the streaming future. Like it's like
agreed.
That's what I've always said, that Game Pass, I think, will eventually merge with like their xCloud service. It'll just be stream.
It's all one. It's all one thing now.
Right.
So they're already
just
there.
Gotta get it on iOS.
Yeah, they have to get it out to more people and make the case for like why you should get Game Pass without having like a console, because right now it's only on Android, so you can't like do it on your PC or anything like that.
I don't think it's all of their games either.
No, it's not. It's only a handful.
Yeah.
So I have more curmudgeon-y old man thought before handing it back to August for your thoughts on
old man yells at cloud.
Yeah, precisely.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, my last thing is it was so dumb how it only works on that one Chromecast. And they only like within the past couple months started rolling it out like into TVs and stuff. Like it should have just been there from the start and on old Chromecast Ultras or even just regular Chromecasts. But that's dumb. Anyways, how is Stadia, August?
No, so my experience with it was, relatively positive. I live in a top 20 city in the US, and I have decent internet, so I didn't really have any latency issue. I tried Destiny 2 out just to see if there's any input lag with the controller. It ran pretty well. I had one internet hiccup that made me restart a mission, which wasn't great, but it still looked pretty good on my 4K television.
Also tried controller.
Controller feels good. I would honestly liken it to the Switch Pro controller. That's what its form factor kind of feels similar. Vibration feels good. It's nowhere near like a DualSense for the PS5, but it's definitely serviceable. Am I gonna play a ton of Stadia? Probably not. Like I have a few months of Stadia Pro for free, so I just wanted to like download all the games that they gave me with that and see what that tech's about. Mostly I wanted to own the controller, so 10 years from now I can hold this up and be like, hey, remember this thing? This was kind of weird, you know.
That's how I feel about my prototype Steam controller. That's like doesn't have any of the touch like pads. It doesn't have any real buttons.
Looking.
It's real janky, but it broke. So it doesn't work at all. But because I got one of the prototype Steam machines and that came with it, and it was real weird to try like play Team Fortress 2 with that janky ass thing.
Yeah. So like this was basically just an experiment of like new tech, and there was like a sale and I wanted a Chromecast anyway, so it's just like, you know what, for a few extra bucks I'll get the controller and see what this whole thing's about. I think I fall on the side. I'm with you guys. Like I think the tech is cool, but Google can't do everything on their own. Like you have to rely on the infrastructure of where you're living, which is why I think we're still 5 to 10 years away until our infrastructure can catch up with like streaming demands. That's another reason I think disc consoles are going to be king still for another 10 years, because rural areas are not able to just digitally download for free. There's data caps everywhere. The interesting note I had is playing Stadia in 4K. So you could 20 gigs per hour, they said was the number. So like that's pretty wild. I don't think I have a data cap. I don't even know if I have a soft one anywhere. I've never ran into trouble, but I was like, maybe I don't play this for 10 hours because I'm kind of worried about finding out if I have one. So
I have a one. It's now 1.2 terabyte data cap, so I don't really hit it anymore. Right. But we used to bump up against it all the time when it was only a terabyte. And that was without streaming a ton of stuff. So yeah, there's no way that I would ever even do that anyway. PS Now was like so much less in my experience.
Yeah. And just Stadia killing their first party studio last week. And I don't know, you guys mentioned Luna, which I'm now looking into. It just feels like Amazon and Google are, they're bottom line companies. So if they don't see this thing making money for them almost immediately, it's going to get abandoned at some point. I expect that to happen with Stadia. Who knows what's going to happen with Luna? But I mean, the game marketplace ecosystem is really packed. So I don't know if there's space for those two right now.
Luna seems like a safer, like it'll probably stick around just because
if you had to hedge your bet.
Yeah, like it's like there's someone needs to be there like making the deals and like shepherding the thing, but and like they can improve it, but there's but that's more just like
there's no asses in Luna
yet. Just wait, they'll get the H games. Steam got there, Luna will get there.
Oh God!
For Eric Gettinger
this week.
Oh, anyways. I don't.
He'll be first in line for Amazon Luna.
But, Luna is using AWS, right?
I would assume.
Yes, it has to be.
You'd have to, yeah.
Yeah, like it's just using that existing infrastructure. They're probably not doing anything crazy fancy with it. So yeah, it's like Google has a graveyard that grows every day, like of products they just kill, whereas AWS,
Google
like
Fiber,
Amazon, Inbox, that one still hurts. But
I think you're the only one that.
Nope. Me too.
I'm joking.
I think about it every day.
I don't want to go down that road.
Every day.
But like Amazon, like for all the issues I take with them, AWS side of things, they don't kill things frequently. They're willing to kind of support it and see what happens. So.
It'll just get rolled into Prime. It'll get rolled into Prime eventually.
Okay. That's not AWS.
Well, I don't think their like first party game studios will necessarily last, but I think like the streaming, like the Luna stuff, that'll last.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Because it's relatively low effort for them.
It feels like the first party studios are part of the pitch, like let's get into video games, and then they realize they can make more money as a marketplace.
This is really hard.
Yeah.
And I mean,
so that's probably where the money is.
And it's surprisingly, it's a lesson that you'd think they'd have learned, because like OnLive was around like 15 years ago, and like Gaikai like over 10 years ago,
that was like so far ahead of the curve. So that was more just like the tech isn't there yet. Like I played Deus Ex, the Human Revolution, like the first like of the modern ones. I tried playing that. It was fucking awful on online.
OnLive
absolutely
was not
ass.
great.
Technically, when I played Red Dead on PS Now, which is still the best streaming experience I had, it was built on the bones of Gaikai.
Yeah. Like they like they use that to get us somewhere. But back when OnLive or Gaikai was a thing, not a good experience.
Yeah, but which is why, to full circle it, that's why the tech has been so impressive with Stadia. Like it works. But it's just everything surrounding it is questionable sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the 2020 of gaming streaming services. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to hear what you guys thought, and if I was onto something, perhaps. But
I think overall, definitely.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think that Google's gonna kill Stadia with the same aggressiveness. I don't know that I agree that it's going to die quickly, because I think they're going to be trying. I think you'll probably no longer be able to buy games on it in a year or two, and then they're going to sit and go, well, how do we solve the problem? We don't want to give everyone refunds. but Valve won't just give us keys for them. So like how do we give these people these games that they bought? So I bet that it'll be a shambling corpse that exists for quite some time.
Google Play credit for everybody.
Oh,
play music,
do you think they'll do that? That would be so funny if that was their solution. We're giving you $100 in Google credits. You're never going to find enough stuff to spend it on. Buy a Google Home.
Have you heard of Candy Crush? Play Candy Crush.
Yeah, microtransactions. It's gotcha for what is it? Genkai? What is Genshin Impact? There we go.
Impact, yeah.
I was thinking of Genkai, Yu Yu Hakusho. There we go. No, that's a game.
Just watch through the whole. That's a whole nother tangent, but I just finished that series.
Buy every season of Yu Yu Hakusho with your Google Play credit from Stadia.
Now you're talking.
I think I've got a free season from like the Microsoft store. Like the first season was free at some point.
Nice.
I think it's streaming now.
I've got the first four. I think first four manga right here in Japanese. My Japanese isn't good enough.
We can't go down this road.
It's a shame. I'd play Genkai Impact.
Genkai?
Yeah, Genkai.
That's what the world needs, a Yu Yu Hakusho game.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho gotcha.
Yeah, there is one. It's only in Japanese, though.
Sure, of course there is.
There's a Reddit where someone asked,
"How horny is
do you think this game will come out in America?" And people were just laughing. Ha 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 ha. Yu Yu Hakusho game come out in America.
I mean, I'm not going to I love Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm not going to actually play a Yu Yu Hakusho gotcha. There's no way.
I would. I've got currently have 2 One Piece gotcha games installed on my phone. Oh. I've only opened one and played the tutorial. Pat, what have you been playing?
So
gotcha games.
The first thing I have to semi mea culpa on, I believe, I can't remember if it was on the podcast or in our chat, but I said this game sucks in reference to Destruction All-Stars last week at some point. And I played some more of it. It's actually not that bad. I'm not gonna it's not like the be all end all of car combat games, but it's fun. They have these like single player challenge series things with a little cutscene bumpers at either end, and then it's like 7 single player games that you play, and they're going to release them for each character. It's pretty smart. You get the first one for free, and then they're like $2 to $5 a piece after that. They're just about worth $2 to $5, I would say. You get a bunch of cosmetics with them when you play through them and stuff. And then I play a little bit more multiplayer, and there's a mode called Carnado that's pretty fun, where you have to like rack up points by doing destruction derby stuff, and then once you have, it's like a risk reward thing. As you build points, the points are tied to your car, so you have to drive your car into this huge tornado in the middle of the map to score it, and it gets destroyed, and then you got to find a new car. But if you get destroyed, if you push your luck and you try to get a max point bonus, you're taking damage as you're trying to get points, so someone might destroy you and take your points before you can get it back to the tornado. So it's got fun stuff like that. The controller stuff in it's still really cool. So I was maybe a little harsh to say that it sucks. I don't think it sucks. It's definitely not gonna make my game of the year list. You don't know what 2021 is going to hold. Fair. If it's one of the only games I play this year, maybe. But
your list is going to be like Dark Souls, Valheim, Destruction All-Stars.
Yeah.
You Hakusho gotcha game. I'm gonna get. I won't discount the possibility that like in June I'm gonna have like a fever, like play nothing but Destruction All-Stars for a week and decide it's actually one of the best games ever made. That's possible.
Where does that game shine? Because I've played a little bit. Does it shine anywhere? I guess is what my question. Because I played a little, but I'm not sure I'm into it. I
think it is the way you think ahead before you do things. The inputs are relatively simple because you're just running into people. It's not like Twisted Metal where you have weapons. But what I think is cool is as you learn the maps a little bit and you learn how the vehicle spawning works, you can do things like, oh, I'm going to hit these 2 cars. Now I'm at a third of my hit points, so I'm going to eject as I'm driving towards a platform that has a car on it so I can jump out and get a fresh car. And or I'm going to eject and then I'm going to do this platforming real quick to get some meter for my superhero car. And so it's really the kind of like way that the game flows, but you have to understand the controls enough to hit that point where you're basically always moving and there's no, you're thinking about the next thing you're going to do as you do something, because it moves very fast. And I think that is where I have found the fun in it. It is not that there's a specific input or like the kind of thing you're doing that is very complex. It's more just the way that the game flows is cool. And I really like the cast of characters. They have a real pro wrestler vibe thing going on. And some of them, like one of them is in fact a luchador, but the whole cast
challenge.
Yeah. The whole cast is very much like wrestling, and playing the challenge series kind of made me realize that, because there's the little like 30-second cutscenes at either end. And I was like, oh, this is like a wrestling promo. I'm watching right now. And I actually kind of dig that now that I have that lens for it. And the characters, you know, they're super colorful and fun. They're like they're kind of generic, colorful and fun, but they are at least like diverse and have some interesting themes. And it feels like they lean in, they do the wrestler thing in the right way, where I'm a white dude, so I don't, but by all means, I am not the authority on this, but it doesn't feel like I look at any of them and go like, oh, that's a caricature. Instead, it's like, no, they're actually like using certain artistic touches that are definitely taken to do the sort of, this is a, you know, I had a daily to play 5 games as Ratu, who's like Indian, and she definitely has like some
cultural aspects.
Yes, but it doesn't feel like it's like just like we made a caricature of an Indian woman or anything. Right. So it's cool.
More like Overwatch in that sense.
Better than Overwatch, even, I would say. I think Overwatch has issues in that department. It's not like horrible, but some of it is. Like Farah, for example, is a mess of a character. I don't think that that Destruction All-Stars has that issue to the same degree, but yes, definitely like Overwatch, if they learned from Overwatch's mistakes there. Gotcha. Not offensive. So yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I'm watching some footage of it for our video version, and a game that it surprisingly seems to remind me of just by watching it is Titanfall.
Yeah. Yes.
Like how you're able to run around and like you're able to, like when you're on foot and you're able to kind of like jump off of walls and like kind of run along and like,
and the way that you're calling your car down is totally like a Titanfall. It's not as good as Titanfall.
No, it doesn't look like it,
but yes, it's fun.
It's surprisingly reminding me of that. So that's
what I've enjoyed it for is less like, oh, I'm going to play hours of Destruction All-Stars, but I'm playing through Dark Souls 2 right now. I'm right near the end. What I've been enjoying it as is I sit down on the couch, I play like 2 or 3 games of Destruction All-Stars. It takes like 20 minutes to a half hour to play 2 or 3 games, and then play some Dark Souls for a while. And then I'll kind of cool off at the end by playing another game or 2 of Destruction All-Stars. So I think
palate cleanser.
Yeah. If they can keep it, if it stays successful enough to keep running and for them to add characters to it, I think it could be like very much this just lives on my PS5 because it's fun to knock out a couple of rounds here and there. For a long time. I will say they really need
completing every season pass for Destruction All-Stars.
They got to work on their skin game because there's no the skins suck. They're all recolors. They don't have any real like skins. They're all just like
I imagine the strategy for that game changed last minute because I think they were originally planning on selling it for $70, and then at launch they were like, this has to go on PlayStation Plus to succeed.
Yeah. So we have a question from the chat asking, could they have put this on PS4 if they wanted, or is it actually attempting something new? And that's from Chris.
I think it's a PS5 game for sure, because I think for a couple of reasons. One, the controller stuff is great. The way that the triggers feel is cool. It's one of the reasons that it's a good like hop in and play a few rounds is because it's doing different stuff. Now, from an accessibility perspective, you can turn that stuff off, and that feels like, I would imagine that for a lot of people, the trigger stuff doesn't work because it requires more pressure on the brake trigger. So certainly that's important to note there, but it also uses the vibration, the haptics, and the speaker in the controller to kind of give everything a little bit more like impact and weight. So I think that's cool and definitely needs the DualSense for. And then the other thing is it actually looks really good when you're playing it in 4K. I don't know if it's running in 4K in the mode I'm in actually, but it looks really good and it's running at 60 frames a second, like with no slowdown or hitching at all. So I think they probably could have made it work on PS4, but the fact that they're kind of have such horsepower at their disposal means that it's got, you know, a lot of really cool lighting, particle effects, and it allows it to move very fast in a way that I think it would have felt a little chunkier on PS4, because the cars are fast in this game. Like it really moves.
It moves.
And that was last night. I had a run. I had a life where I drove. I came third in the game. I drove, I wrecked somebody, I spun around, I boosted, and then I dodged someone using the dodge, and then I got hit. And then in like one fluid motion, I like jumped out and landed on a platform, ran, got some meter, jumped in another car. And I was like, oh, I get it now. This is fun. I just didn't even, I hit such a flow state here that it worked. And I don't think that would work unless it's running at the 60 FPS. It wouldn't be the same.
Comment and then a question for you, Pat.
Yeah.
I need to try it again because I've not hit that flow yet. I just find myself outside of my car all the time, which has been frustrating for me.
Yep.
So it's kind of repelled me a little bit, but I'm gonna try and look at it with fresh eyes today, I think. The question is, like, I feel like just playing this game, I feel like I want to like it, but it's missing something for me. Maybe it's that flow. If there's one thing that the devs need to do an update for to like this game's going to take off, what is it?
I think it's honestly probably better cosmetics. I know that's sort of seems silly when you're talking about gameplay, but
that's dark.
But but like that's sort of the thing is I don't feel like there's a particularly great carrot to chase. They do cosmetics the same way Overwatch does, but without loot boxes. You buy them with currency and you get a bunch of the in-game currency, but the gameplay parts, I think maybe they could explain it better as to like and helping you get there. What I would recommend though is I would try playing that single player challenge series, the Ultimo Barricado one that comes for free. That was the thing that helped me to kind of click with it and understand. I also think here's a better answer. More modes would be good. More game modes and more of a playlist structure where you're switching from mode to mode, I think would be really, really good.
So what they do is they get Lucio Ball.
Sure.
Right.
So no, here's what they need to do.
You got cars. You got a big ball.
I'm sick of the way they're dragging the Allstars name through the mud.
There you go. Actually,
PlayStation All-Stars Destruction Derby would have been a better game.
Yeah, actually,
Drake in a Jeep.
Guest characters would be really good in this game, I think.
Is nothing holy anymore?
Kratos in a boat.
Boat with wheels. The head's
just a boat. No wheels. He is just rowing with his pure godlike strength.
A rapper on a skateboard.
Yeah.
What kind of car would Cole from Infamous drive?
The worst. Just the way he would drive, like it would be like
it would be a Tesla. It'd be a Tesla.
No,
he would turn
that's
into
the
Tesla.
He would
turn into the car.
Yeah,
he would be the car.
That's like a pun.
It would just be two posts with like the electric wire in between, and he's just riding it on top.
I think he would drive like a really like a Ford F450 that is just like the most douchey car because he sucks. He sucks. He's a jerk.
He would drive a Hummer.
Yes, he would drive like a H3.
Seeing Hummers in Japan is the weirdest shit. I'm just like, where do you park that thing? You can't drive that here. What are you doing?
It's basically how it is in Seattle too. And then all the truck owners complain that Seattle doesn't. This is not to get too political, but they always complain that Seattle doesn't want conservatives because it doesn't have wide enough roads for trucks, which is just like one. Yes, sure, I'm with really that, funny. But also. That's a weird logic leap for you to make.
Jeez.
That's really funny though. Anyways, Destruction All-Stars.
Anyway,
Yes.
yeah. I also played. I'll go fast through this because I don't want to take up too much time on it. But I played a few nights of a game called Hell Let Loose, which was on sale on Steam this week, so we picked it up. My friends and I, who I play Call of Duty with, we like a lot of. We like to try World War II shooters when they hit. A lot of times they're not very good. The last one that I was kind of into was Day of Infamy, which was like a Day of Defeat kind of takeoff, but it's like Day of Defeat. It's more about like lots and lots of shooting rather than trying to stab at realism. Hell Let Loose to me feels like an evolution of Battlefield 1942 in a big way, which is one of my favorite games ever. I still like it more than all the other Battlefields. And I say that because Hell Let Loose also feels kind of like World War II Online, but in a good way, because you're playing on these enormous maps and you are playing with a squad of up to 6 people, and everyone has roles within that squad. So you can only have like one machine gunner in the squad. And there's the way they've built out the roles. You can play as a standard like rifleman, but there's a role for every person if you want to play sort of a specific character. And the flow of the game is that there's this huge map and you're either playing the mode where one team is defending and one team is attacking, and it's like just the attacking team is just trying to push across the map. It's kind of like Rush from Battlefield 3. Or you're playing the warfare mode where there's a flow kind of back and forth where both teams are pushing at a center line. And it's super cool because it feels, it's 100-player matches. You can have like 2 or 3 squads trying to take one point to the south, and then what feels like on a different map, there's people pushing at a different point to the north, and you might hear artillery fire going off in that direction, but it doesn't even feel like you're playing in the same map in the way that the maps just have tons of scale, not in a bad way. And so it's a cool feeling. That's where the World War II Online aspect of it comes from, is you're playing on these big teams and you're all trying to push for the same end goal, but the ways that you move troops around is really cool. And part of why that works is because there is like a commander who's kind of talking in a command voice channel with all the squad leaders and telling the squad leaders kind of where to go. And then squad leaders are placing markers for the squads to go there. And I have found in several games, the games are long too. They can last up to like 90 minutes.
Wow.
I have found in several games that there isn't the same kind of, like, I don't usually use voice chat. Like I've talked about before, I love modern Call of Duty because you can turn off every single avenue for communication in that game. So you never have to talk to a single person. This game is the opposite. But so far, everyone's been pretty cool that I've been playing with. I mean, I don't know if they're cool outside of the game, but in the game, everyone's communicating. And, we played the other night and we had a squad leader and I was like, oh, I haven't really played. This is only like my 3rd game. And he was like, okay, well, if you can spawn a support, that would be really good. Because then you can do this and this and this. And it's been very positive. And the game doesn't emphasize your like kills and deaths. Nobody else can see your personal, like your kill and death ratio other than you. Instead, you score points for like playing the objectives. So the way that the scoring works makes it feel way less like, oh, I'm having a bad game, so everyone's going to make fun of me. Which is my constant anxiety. That's why I struggle with like playing League and Dota, is because I feel like I'm not going to do well and then I'm going to get yelled at. Totally not an issue for this game because of how the scoring works. And the ranges are really cool. Like my buddy's been playing machine gunner, and it's the kind of thing where you'll be like 150 yards from the command point in a farmhouse, and he'll set up his MG, and the rest of the squad moves up, and he's firing an MG42 down 2 football fields, because that's how the ranges actually work for weapons like that. And it feels just very cool to move with your squad and play tactically and use the voice chat and everything. And then it has the spectacle of oh no, artillery is firing on us, and you can see like, or when they do a bombing run and you can see the explosions and they're getting closer and they're these huge like house-sized explosions, and then you die.
Interesting.
Sounds rad.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think if you have some patience and you like kind of realistic tactical stuff, it's really worth picking up.
So does it feel like it has any like connective tissue to something like Arma in terms of how it feels and how the squad stuff works, or is it a little less clunky than that?
It's way less clunky for sure. Okay. I would assume the developers have played Arma, and I like Arma actually, but
same.
But I would say it's a lot less clunky than Arma. They do some smart quality of life things that you don't usually get in hardcore military sims, where like you always have markers over friendlies. So if you're aiming a rifle at a target that's 300 yards away, you don't have to go, oh God, is that a friendly that I'm shooting at? Because you'll see a little marker.
But the enemies aren't marked, are they?
No.
Okay.
So you still have to acquire targets visually, but you don't have to worry about team killing unless they're like a kilometer away. I think the markers eventually fade out as like a memory thing because there's so many players, they don't want a bunch of HUD elements. But it's got stuff like that. It has very good spawn mechanics where your squad leader can drop down spawn points kind of all wherever they want, and then people can spawn on them. So it has some quality of life and stuff in it that makes it a little easier to play than something like Arma, but it still has the feel of a very tactical game, and it has the flow. Like, it's not like Battlefield where you're killing people all the time. Like, I have most of my games I've had between 5 and 8 kills, because there's a lot of like, oh, you're suppressing people and you're holding points and stuff, which I like a lot. But yeah, it has good progression too. Yes, it does have vehicles. It has like trucks and stuff that you can move around in, and then it does have armor as well. And to use the armor, you have to spawn as a specific 3-man squad to operate a tank, and it is. Otherwise, though, it's just like old Battlefield, which was the best way, where the tanks are at your side in your base. None of this like modern Battlefield stuff where you spawn. Yeah, I like you got to snag them. I don't like the way that they do it now, where it's like, oh, you got enough points to spawn as a tank. I hate that. And the armor is really cool. When you see it coming, you're like, oh shit, everybody's got to get down right now. There's a tiger coming down the road, and it'll blow you away. But you can set up, like, they have the progression it's kind of like Battlefield 2's progression, where as you level up with classes, you unlock alternate loadouts for them. Not like Call of Duty where you're building a loadout. It's more like you can be the support guy that does this, or the support guy that does this. And I guess one of the anti-tank classes can like set up a pack 40, which is awesome. So
40.
Yeah. So there's a lot of cool stuff in the game that you can use to deal with different situations. And there's no pilotable aircraft, but the aircraft operate as like you can call in bombing runs and strafing runs and stuff. So they're like a tactical resource that the commander can call.
So is it like a 40 of Old English, or?
Pack 40 is a German 75 millimeter anti-tank gun.
Old Deutsch.
Brass monkeys too. But I guess my question is the sense of scale in such a way that you can actually like maneuver, like do a flanking maneuver or pincer maneuver on an objective and feel like successful.
Absolutely. That's the awesome. Cool thing is you can totally do sort of, and because there's the communication happening between commanders and squad leaders, that stuff actually happens. And your squad leader will go like, oh, they want us to push up this road. So we need to take the street. And like on the Carentan map, it's really, really, really dense streets. And like compared to the Karen 10 that's in Battlefield 5, I was like, oh my God, this is so much more cool and true to life than what's in there. Yeah, so you definitely get those movements. And on some maps, you can actually see it happening, where you can see like the icons for your guys way up here and your team's moving up this way. And it's really, really cool. The only thing I would say is it is early access still. It feels worth getting because it's pretty, I don't think they're planning on wiping progress for the progression, and it's got plenty of content, but it has some optimization stuff. My computer's pretty solid still, and I sometimes have a little bit of a frame rate dip happening when there's like artillery fire and stuff like that, lots of particles.
Gotcha.
So there's that to keep in mind. I'm very excited. Currently it focuses on the Western Front, but they're adding Eastern Front, like Soviet and Soviet troops and weapons in an update, which is very cool, because it'll change the dynamics a lot, because it means, Soviet troops had a lot more access to like automatic weapons and stuff, not necessarily good ones, but it should make for very different feeling games than what's in there right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Last question again. Sorry, I've been watching this game for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't really had the opportunity to talk to anyone about it. You've been comparing it to like modern Battlefield. My problem with modern Battlefield is it often feels like you just have to throw waves of infantry against any armor to get anywhere, and people that are really adept with vehicles just end up with like 50, 60 kills and 2 deaths maybe. Do you still feel valuable as an infantryman in this?
Yeah.
And like you have to play mindful of the heavy weapons, but you can get around a tank potentially, or? Yeah,
so for starters, I've never seen more than 1 tank at a time, and I think there are usually 2 to 3 armor squads, like armor crews. But because the tanks are really more of a tactical resource, because you're working as a crew. So there's a person driving and a person commanding and a person gunning. So they can't, if you are a smart infantryman, if you just have a rifle, you can't shoot a tank and do anything. But usually what I see happen is tanks provide an opportunity for troops to move up because they come in and do a lot of damage, kill a lot of people, and kill like a wave of defenders. But very quickly they go down after that because it's not that hard to kill them with anti-tank weaponry if they're not really smart about how they're deploying. And while they feel powerful and important, it's very different from Battlefield, where it feels like the tank is a hero character or something. And it's just such a different, because commanders or squad leaders can place spawns for you all over the place. If you have a decent squad leader, it's not like Battlefield, where I forget the name of the map, but there's a map in Battlefield 5 where there's a flag that's right out, like it's right outside of a house, or not a house, but like a 2-story building. And you spawn in the building when you spawn at the flag, and someone can just park a tank outside and essentially just fire into the building forever. And it's a nightmare because you'll never get out. You just have to sprint outside as fast as you can. Then you get cut down by an MG or something. This game does not have those kinds of situations at all, because your squad leader in that situation should go, oh, I need to place a spawn over here instead because we're getting cut down by that tank. And then you deal with the tank. So very different from Battlefield in that way. The thing that I think Hell Let Loose is most comparable to, that no one's going to have a point of reference for really, but it feels like you're playing Squad Leader, the tabletop game, or Advanced Squad Leader, but you are the actual person in like running around rather than controlling the tactical elements. It just has that sort of good mix of realism and game feel that makes it fun and also paced really well, I guess. My favorite World War II game for a long time was Red Orchestra. I think I might like this game more than that one, even because I think the way that its mechanics work at a macro level are more satisfying. And you just don't have the like people Ramboing, and you don't have the like, oh, I'm just going to sprint and kill 10 guys and that's going to win us the game. It just doesn't happen. And on the flip side, you get like last night, there was a guy that came up to my friend and started doing an Italian accent. And then we all started doing Italian accents and like talking about how we were walking here. And like, it was almost like everyone was role playing and it was really funny.
That sounds like Hold Fast. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I haven't talked about it on the cast. I won't get into it, but I've also been playing Civil War game called War of Rights with the same group of guys, and it's been a fun. It's similar energy to that of like lots of communication, lots of kind of role playing and stuff, but not in a super shitty way, like what can happen with historical war games.
Right.
Interesting.
Hell let loose.
Yeah.
That you just unleashed hell on this podcast. That was you made that really compelling. Like I am not into like multiplayer shooters at all these days, let alone like World War II ones. But that like everything you were saying sounded really neat.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm offering a bill of sale here. Like I think it's pretty. Yeah. I feel pretty confident about a lot of those, all those opinions. Like it's really good.
Neat. Well, next, Alex and I both played the same game this week. At least one of the games we played was the same.
I don't understand why. I didn't think that either of you were excited for this game.
So I wasn't.
I got it to play co-op with my girlfriend. Like that's basically the reason I got it. I've played Mario 3D World before on this little system called the Wii U. You probably
it was not little. That controller was not huge.
You probably haven't heard of it.
Also,
yeah. So they re-released Mario 3D World. I keep forgetting if it's 3D Land or 3D World, but 3D Land is the 3DS one. It's 3D World is the one. Yeah.
World is the console one.
Have you played 3D World before, Alex?
No, I had not. So that's kind of, I was not interested in this game. And I think I expressed as much, I don't think it was on the podcast. I think it was just in our chats separately where I was like, I don't think I'm going to play this game because I don't really care because I've been burned by enough Mario to where like I really thought Mario Maker 2 was super underwhelming. Like
Mario is a perfect 7 out of 10 franchise. Sometimes it's good.
To hear someone else say that.
It's like Mario. I will fully like acknowledge Super Mario Brothers, like the Mario World, and 64 as like, you know, peak game design and like groundbreaking things. Changed a lot of stuff. Yeah. Outside of that, like it's all right.
Yeah, like there's been Mario games I really like. Like for the 3D ones, I really liked, 64 and like Galaxy and Galaxy 2 were just like, they're super creative and super fun. And like for 2D ones, Mario 2 was just really fantastic with how weird it went. And then like 3 and World and all of those were great. But like, we don't have to talk about it too much, but I didn't like Odyssey very much. I didn't really like Sunshine that much.
Controversial opinion.
I know Sunshine is not as controversial, but like, people like Odyssey a lot and I don't care for it, which was why I'm like, people say like this particular Mario 3D World is like their favorite. And I didn't really understand. I was like, why? Like they're saying it's like better than 64, better than Galaxy and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I need to see why firsthand. So I picked it up and I can totally see why people would say that. It's actually really fucking good.
Cool.
Like it's extremely creative. Like you can tell it was made by the Galaxy team. Like the stuff they're doing, like they're just extremely well crafted levels that are themed really well. And yeah, they're being creative with every one of them. Like they're adding new mechanics with everyone. They're unique mechanics, like the Mario Kart level. Is really
think
interesting.
I've gotten there yet.
It's in World 3, I think. I'm at World 4 now.
I just finished World 3 like before the podcast, so I think it's probably in World 4 maybe. I don't know.
No, it's in World 3. It's the one where like it has like the block, like the colorful blocks on the edges, and then like you're boosting through it, and like you're basically acting like a cart.
Oh, that one. Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like stuff like that. It's really creative and clever and fun. So, what do you think about Andre? Well, I haven't played the original or the original release of it.
So like I don't remember like anything from my time with the original. Like I remembered Cat Mario and like kind of the first level. But it's been so long since I played it, and I played that mostly solo. I don't think I played it with anyone at all. Maybe I did. I don't know. But now I'm playing this one entirely co-op with my partner, and that changes how much you can appreciate like the design and stuff, just because like you're getting in each other's way. Sometimes it's useful, like, oh, I'm going to bounce off your head, or I'm going to pick you up and throw you for a thing or whatever. Or one of us is going to run ahead and it's going to pull the other person, or like, you're two people on one screen, and it's just, it gets a little hectic and annoying. It probably wouldn't make sense to do something like the Lego games where they do like the split screen stuff. But it's, I'm having fun playing it with my partner, but like it's definitely not the way to, like, I wouldn't say this is the way to experience it and enjoy the design of the levels or anything like that. But if you want to just like have some fun together, it's good for that. It's better than like something like Odyssey where it's like, oh, the second person can control the hat, or Luigi's Mansion. It's like you got to play for like almost an hour before you can do co-op, and then like it's like kind of designed for co-op but not really, because there's like things you can't do together and stuff like that.
It's definitely better than the Galaxy games where the second player would just like move the Wii remote around and collect the whatever they were
exactly
called, star
but it's definitely got like the new Super Mario Brothers like U stuff, like the 2D ones had a lot, are like very chaotic multiplayer games, just because everyone's always bouncing off each other and like getting in the way, and people are just trying to run ahead and be the first, and this kind of has the same thing going on. And then you're like, I'm like, wait, no, come back, we need to do this, but then she's already like gone in the pipe or whatever, and then it's just like, nope, we're going for it. I'm like, oh damn it. So stuff like that. Like I'm not too worried about collecting everything. Like it's just stickers, and there's not even a what do they call the Weverse, the
Miiverse?
The Miiverse. Yeah, there's no Miiverse to put stickers in, so like I don't even know why I'm collecting stickers.
Do you know, like, if you collect all the stickers or all the stars, is there like a bonus world that opens up at the end, like the ultra challenging?
I think it just opens at the end regardless. After like you beat like the 8 worlds. I don't remember, but there are challenging levels, I believe, because that was like 3D Land had that too. But I'm not sure what the deal with that stuff is.
You guys touched the new content yet? Like, how does that? Are they two separate games, or do you have to beat one to get to the new stuff?
You can boot Bowser's Fury right away. I have not touched it yet. It is 1 or 2 player co-op, so I do want to check that out, but I have not seen it yet. I hear it's more like Odyssey than 3D World. So.
Yeah, it's more like you have direct, like 3D World is essentially static cameras that you can kind of shift around a little bit.
It's a 2D Mario, but then they went, what if it was 3D?
Exactly. But like from my understanding, the Bowser's Fury stuff, which I haven't gotten to, is basically like behind the back Mario, where you're rotating the camera and like you're wandering around an open world basically.
Nice. I'll have to listen next week and hear what you guys think of it then.
Yeah. I'm going to continue with it. I think it's good. I don't really have any complaints about it. I think it's really well designed and it plays great. Oh, it also brought in one of my favorite things from Mario 2, the fact that you can play as different characters. So I've been playing a lot of this as Peach because she's fun, even though but she's so slow. So like there's some
everyone
stuff,
has a different trade-off.
Yeah, like there's some stuff that like you can obviously tell was balanced for like single player playing as Mario, where like you run through stuff and everything is timed perfectly, but with Peach she's so slow, it's just like everything just falls out of sync and then just falls apart. It's really funny.
Toad is way too fast and stuff like that. It's good stuff.
How long does 3D World, do you guys know how Like, what's your playtime?
I'm a few hours, like we've played like maybe 3 hours, maybe like, and we are having some issues as like a pair going through, just because like you've got a shared life pool, like, so you die, then so then it takes it down, so then like, oh, one of us goofed up too many times and now we have to restart or whatever. So we've had that happen a few times. But
so it doesn't do the thing where if like you fall off, then your partner could just like, you would be floating around as a ball and your partner can release you?
Oh no, that happens. But once you get once you get the lives down to 0, then you can't respawn. And then if your partner dies, then it kicks you out and you have to restart and you have to collect everything again.
Understood. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That sucks. Yeah. I'm also probably like 3-ish hours in, but I've been more thorough. Like I have all the stars from the first world and all of them from the second, but not all from the third. And I probably have 3 or 4 hours in.
I have most stars, but there are some I'm like, since this is co-op, this is like going through the hassle of like redoing it. Let's just move on. We don't need every star at the moment. It's like, so
I'm gonna come back for
it does get your progress. Like it has like a check, like, hey, did you collect enough stars to like unlock this thing? But then that's about it.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. Core game is probably what, like 10, 11 hours, I would guess, just as I don't know, throwing it out there. And then I don't know how long Bowser's Fury is. No idea.
I've heard really good things about Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, people seem stoked on it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that then. So yeah, it's really good.
But people really liked Odyssey, and you did not care for Odyssey, so.
No, that's true. But I'm enjoying this one actually. So.
Okay, so on average, the main campaign for Super Mario 3D World is around 10.5 hours long, and reaching 100% completion takes an average of 38 and a half hours.
Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
How? Oh no.
Wait, yeah,
there has to be a hidden world or something somewhere then.
This says how long to beat says is much. Oh no, completion is 39 hours. Yeah, okay.
There has to be an extra world if you get everything. Okay.
Yeah, no, there is like more stuff, but yeah, okay. Challenge.
Yeah, that's
levels.
10 and a half to 39. Wow. Okay, that's a range.
Yeah, that's critical path versus completionist. Well,
I have one game to talk about really fast. I'm going to give it 45 seconds of airtime, and we don't have to
put it on the clock.
Yeah. I played a bit of Honey Pop 2.
Oh boy.
So we talked about.
Wow, 45 seconds are up. And
yeah, that was fast. That's the fastest 45 I've ever seen.
We talked about Honey Pop probably like 2 years ago on the show. And I was like, you know what? This game is okay. Like, it's fine. You can turn off all the gross stuff. Like, you can, if you don't want it. It's basically.
And why are we even playing it?
But like the puzzle,
really, like what are we doing?
The puzzle mechanics are actually pretty good. Like if you get
just a match 3.
It's like a mix between Bejeweled and like you must build a boat or 10 million. So like in the 10 million sense that you are doing specific matches and is affecting different things. Like, in those games, like you would be collecting swords for attacking enemies and crafting materials and stuff like that. It's stuff like that, but it's like a dating sim. So it's like, oh, you're appealing to this girl's sense of passion or creativity or whatever. Like that's what you're collecting. And like, it's actually a pretty good puzzle mechanic. And the first game, like I said, you could turn off the gross stuff and it was fine. But the second one, I'm not into at all so far. It's like, it's all about the gross stuff and you can't turn it off. And it's like very extremely horny in just like a really off-putting way. And like, it's actually kind of racist. So I'm at the point where I'm probably not going to continue playing it.
I heard some pretty, I'm having trouble actually finding it, but around the time that game that same developer made about cam girls came out, there was some pretty like, hey, this person might suck.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Just with the kind of stuff they put it, like the way that they think about developing the games more so than anything in particular that was like abusive that they did. But it seems like they're very much a like, let's use culture as a new form, as a different way to objectify women kind of stuff.
That's what's going on in this too. I'm at the point where I'm probably just not going to continue it. Like it's not very good, honestly. Like it's just eh. The first one had some merit. This one is not very good at all. So that's all we need to talk about for Honey Pop 2.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Honey Pop? I always thought it was Honey Pop. No. Anyway, quick check in with our guest. You good to head into news, August?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. Sometimes our guests are like, I'm out at like an hour, maybe 90 minutes.
Yeah,
which totally fair. Totally respect
a reasonable
that.
thing.
Dude,
people have lives. We do not.
You can compare me to Captain America when it comes to podcasting. I could do this all day. So.
All right.
Happy to go through it.
We have a comic book podcast
and a coding one.
Comics are something that I had a couple when I was a kid, but I never got deep into it, and I'm afraid to because I know how I get into things. Bad. So I'm just maybe I'll just watch from the sidelines.
I spend a lot of money on comic books now.
I spent 2020 reading 1,000 issues of One Piece.
Wow.
Imagine if you paid like $3 to $4 for every one of those issues of one. Actually, that's instead, a lot. I don't buy 1,000 comic books a year. $24 over the course of the year and read 1,000 issues of One Piece. Yeah, I roll into the comic book store and I'm like, oh, cool. There's like 6 books this week.
I think someday I might purchase some. The only thing I want to do, I want to get one Spider-Man comic. I want to frame it. I want to put it on my wall, and then I'm going to try not to buy any more. But
Amazing Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 69.
That might be good. Maybe I'll do that.
I don't know what we can go into news and I'll look up what Spider-Man number 69 is. I gotta know.
Okay, yeah, please.
That's the important research.
And if you'd like to hear them someday talk about Spider-Man 69, you can head. That would be Spider-Man 2069. You can listen to the Comic Fix podcast on your podcast catcher of choice.
Comic Book Fix, yeah.
In the meantime, let's get on to news. Well, Pat finds Spider-Man number 69. There's probably a lot of them.
Because there's numerous Spider-Man series, but we're going to go to the original,
the OG.
Yes, because that will be the funniest, because that would be a comic that came out.
Who's going to be on the cover of Spider-Man 69 besides Spider-Man? Is it just Spider-Man? Is there a villain?
Mary Jane is pretty nice. And like 69, nice, they go together.
She's actually not nice at all in the old comic books.
Oh, really?
She kind of sucks. She's really like the worst part about old Marvel comics. Marvel was ahead of its time in terms of like representation and stuff, but they still, Stan Lee was not the best at writing women when he was younger. And so Gwen Stacy is like, I'll say at least neither of them is like ditzy, but Gwen Stacy is like trying to get with Peter all the time, and Peter's just kind of oblivious and not good at acting on that. And Mary Jane is on the other side being like, fuck you, I don't give a shit about you. And he's like, I gotta get with her though.
A classic tale.
Also, she calls him daddy all the time because daddy-o, like that was just a slang. And it's real weird reading it now. I've read a lot of old Spider-Man in the last
Is she 9 feet tall?
She's tall. She's not as tall as Lady Dimitrescu, but she's tall.
I did play that demo.
I meant to do that. I just
it's very much just a tone piece, but
that's fine.
Yeah, there's like I'm looking forward to playing that. But anyway, big news. This actually is probably my favorite news of the week. Jack Black, the apple of my eye, has been signed on to the Borderlands movie, along with people like Cate Blanchett and I think, what's his name? I can't.
Jamie Lee Curtis was one, wasn't she?
Yes,
Jamie Lee Curtis is in there.
Isn't
Kevin Hart? Kevin Hart as Roland. But the important thing is Jack Black is Claptrap in the Borderlands movie.
I think so. Are they going to filter his voice to sound like Claptrap?
Probably.
Or is it just going to sound like Jack Black?
He's going to modulate it himself. No,
I can see that
like,
being
I
good.
mean, I think I think it'll be like you'll be able to tell it's Jack Black, but they'll like have to put like a robot spin on it.
If it's hopefully it's better than Dinklebot. That's all I need
Or
from Destiny.
It should
What
just
is
be
Dinklebot?
the ghost.
Oh, from Destiny. Right.
Dinklage.
Got it. Yeah.
What they should do is just have Jack Black in there in like a cardboard suit doing.
I watched that movie. I would watch that movie for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, this cast, like Cate Blanchett, Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis, like I'm already kind of on board.
Who is Cate Blanchett? Lilith?
I think she's Lilith. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting
I can get
choice,
aboard with
actually.
that.
I saw a TikTok of Jack Black dressed up as Thor.
Oh
And
yeah.
he did a lot of very funny stuff.
Yeah, his YouTube channel. I've said it before, but his YouTube channel is real good.
He's a funny man.
His
Was it
Instagram
Jiggles
too.
Plays?
Jablinski.
Jablinski, that's what it is. Thank you. Yeah.
I have reporting from the field. Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 1, number 69, published in February 1969.
Nice.
Double
nice.
Double nice.
The only way it could be nicer if it was April 20th.
It's titled Mission Crush the Kingpin. And it
Okay.
is Spider-Man with the Kingpin holding him in kind of a like very uncomfortable looking arm.
69.
No, I'm gonna guess that
The
there's
trifecta.
a consent issue here because it does look like they are fighting, but were they not, then I could totally see
Hey, you know, Spider-Man
progressing.
Things happen, gets him in like a what's the Hurricane Rana, and then it's just boom, 69.
Sure.
It happens to the best of us.
Speaking of us, they also announced some like Last of Us casting.
Oh
details, didn't they?
yeah.
Like we don't have that on
yeah.
our news, but
Pedro
Pedro
Pascal
Pascal.
playing Joel.
Pedro, yeah. Not Pablo. I was gonna say Pablo Escobar, and I was like, that's not right.
oh man, that would be
No.
fascinating.
Swing and a miss.
Who was
And
playing
then
Ellie? It was someone from
it's
Yeah,
the-
Bella Ramsey is her name.
she was she was also in Game of Thrones. She was the young girl who took over.
Lyanna Mormont.
Sure, yes, that sounds right. Hey, remember Game of Thrones?
Never
Nope.
watched it. I watched 2 episodes and I dropped.
Yeah, just
so no.
that just you know, good for them for being able to move on from that. Like they kind of were taken out before it got like excessively bad at the end, but they
That's only
Taken
one,
out as one word, yeah.
there's only one George R.R. Martin project that I care about.
Elden
you're
Ring.
gonna I'm
Yes,
waiting
that
for
is-
Pat to turn into one of the Elden Ring Reddit fans.
You think I haven't already?
So-
I just keep it down a little bit for everyone.
then
So-
you're not fully there. You gotta seep out of you.
When you said George R.R. Martin, I kind of misheard and thought you said Jar Jar.
I did too.
I am actively watching Clone Wars and listening to A More Civilized Age. So Jar Jar is always with me.
And with me. And I don't even watch those.
That I saw a tweet that Pedro Pascal just loves those escort missions, like with Mandalorian and now The Last of Us.
Oh.
Yeah, that is funny.
They should have put him in the Assassin's Creed movie.
I hope that.
Dang.
Yeah, that would have been That's a
Yeah.
dream casting maybe.
I mean, that movie's casted fairly well. The Assassin's Creed movie got bad rap. It's not good, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
People want to hate video game movies.
Yes, I think that was a big part of it. It's one of the better video game movies I have seen, I would say.
What's the worst?
And it's canon. Oh, what's the worst? That's
Blood
That's a whole
Rain.
podcast.
yep. That's
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know
say
if this-
Blood Rain is.
I mean, there's a
Max-
lot.
Payne
Postal,
was
isn't
pretty
there a
good.
Postal movie?
Yeah, I don't know if his Postal movie or Postal is a game that I hate. So and
Oh, is this Uwe
so I
Boll?
assume
Yeah.
I assume the Postal movie is trash.
I've not seen it. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I either, and there's no amount of money you could pay me to watch it either.
Mortal Kombat 2 is not
Oh,
good, but there's like entertaining parts.
One sentence. What do we think? How do we feel about the Resident Evil movies?
Oh, I'll
Some of
watch
them
them
are
any
good.
day of the week, anytime.
Yeah, some of them are really good.
They're fun.
I've been thinking about them more. I used to watch them every Halloween because I liked them a lot. But as time goes on, I think more and more maybe they suck.
I've only seen up to Extinction, which is the third one, and I thought Extinction was actually pretty good because it's basically a Mad Max movie.
I did then, but I think my issue is, I don't know. I'm starting to think like maybe I just really like the laser scene from the first one. And that's.
I mean, honestly, if Paul W.S. Anderson wants to make movies with his hot wife, like, who am I to stop him?
It sounds.
There are, admittedly, Monster Hunter does sound problematic, and I have not seen it. But...
Yeah, that's after like I was like shocked. Actually, I don't usually get that surprised by people being shitty. I was shocked at the racism in Monster Hunter, even though it's acute and limited to one bit of dialogue.
Yeah, and
that's what put me down this path of like, wait, maybe Paul W.S. Anderson's just an asshole who wants to like put his wife and stuff. And then I started to think, I haven't rewatched the movies yet, but I was watching some scenes from Resident Evil, and I was like, actually, these maybe suck. I don't know.
How do you feel about them, August?
I haven't watched them in a long time, but back in the day, I guess I can say now, when I was in college, my roommate and I it was just like a Friday night thing. We would throw Resident Evil on, and we like recognize they're not good movies, but they were really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like they're fun.
Has anyone seen Paul W.S. Anderson's Three Musketeers movie?
Yep.
No.
With like Christoph Waltz, and Orlando Bloom. I saw that one time in theaters, and I've been kind of like, should I watch that again?
I don't even know what my opinion. I also saw it in theaters, and I don't know what my opinion of it is now because it's been a long time. I assume it's bad because nobody talks about it.
Yeah, no, it's just like completely like wiped from like public
history
memory.
books.
Like
it's like it's like Kazam.
Exactly. All right. What's our next news story? Oh, yeah, blast from the past. Halo 3 is getting a new map in the Master Chief Collection. Apparently it's being brought in from something called Halo Online, which was a game that was made for Russia.
Yeah.
Online only Halo game. And
there's a lot to unpack there.
They're not bringing, it doesn't seem like it's an official map from that, but it's like using like similar from that. I'm not even entirely sure, but they're bringing content from Halo Online to the Master Chief Collection as a Halo 3 map.
I think when Infinite, well, I don't know how they handle it now, but I think this is what they should just do. They should just make maps for the Master Chief Collection and like come up with new stuff to put in there, and that should be how they continue to make Halo rather than trying to do another story.
Yeah. People like the Halo stories for some reason.
And for what it's worth,
not
the Master
there's
Chief,
books. Not
there's
after like
books.
4 though. People like the first 3 Halo stories.
Yeah, maybe.
And
4 is okay.
4 is okay. Yeah.
I think they've been doing really well by the Master Chief Collection, considering what a clusterfuck it was when it first came out. Like for that first year, even like the fact that they're still continuing to support it, like years and years later, is
they had
great,
to.
actually.
They had to.
Oh yeah, no.
Otherwise,
it was
when it came time, imagine what would have happened if Master Chief Collection was a mess, and then they showed Halo Infinite, it being what it was. Which I was like, okay, this looks kind of like Halo, but then like it's a little more open worldy, I guess. But if they showed that after like having Master Chief Collection still be a mess, they would have been fucking done. Like nobody would buy an Xbox. You'd be out of your mind. But
I've been saying for
around.
10 years what the Halo series needs is a new map for Halo 3. So I'm really excited.
Some people agree, and that's exactly what they think. Is that was the last good Halo game. I liked Reach. I had fun with 4, but like
Reach was good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have friends who are like Halo 3 is the best, and they never moved on. They would not accept.
Were you guys as negative on the infinite footage as the masses were?
It looks.
I mean,
Do you guys have any hard opinions on
I
it?
didn't think it looked like, oh my god, this is next gen, but I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, this looks like Halo.
That's my thought too. It looked like Halo.
Yeah, I don't really care about like it's cool when games look really technically impressive, but if it's a good Halo game, I don't care if it looks like Halo 1. And so I never really, the thing that I was more concerned about is it sounded like kind of a messy structure. So what I was more worried about was more what they were saying about it rather than the footage itself.
Well, yeah, they also weren't showing very much, so.
Yeah, for like speaking personally, like visual fidelity doesn't matter that much to me.
Yeah.
These days, like everything looks just like at a base level just looks pretty good. And like, I like some indie games that are fucking ugly. So like the visual fidelity never bothered me, even with whatever it was, that brute that looked hella ugly that people were just like memeing up. Can't remember.
Craig or whatever.
Yeah, thank you. Like that stuff never bothered me, but yeah, no, like Pat, it's all about the gameplay. It's all about how it actually feels in the structure. And with that stuff seeming nebulous at best, like I was less sold on that, but I wasn't super negative on it like the general tide was.
Right. I liked the art style, honestly. I don't think everything needs to be ray tracing.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Halo was always about the gunplay, so if it feels good, that's fine with me, I guess.
I think the biggest thing for me is I'm never going to be back in the situation where I was playing Halo, which for me was always at my friend's house playing LAN because I didn't have an Xbox. So like multiplayer with my friends, like, doing Forge or whatever, doing zombies, that was my Halo experience. And I'm just not gonna get back to like where we've got 12 people all together or landing up an Xbox, sitting on the floor of my friend's, like, his dad went through a midlife crisis, built this ridiculous media room with like a projector, and then beneath the projector was two like 43-inch TVs.
Honestly, if I were Microsoft, I would lean into saying like you could totally play this on LAN. If you want.
Oh man,
the nostalgia, it sells.
Before they did the 2 HDMI ports, this time they should have done 2 USB ports. So you could, or not USB, 2 LAN Ethernet ports. Yeah, you could do into your like wire into your internet, and then one just to LAN.
They should sell a weird like pizza-sized hub where you can pull a bunch of LAN cables, Ethernet cables out, and it connects them all together.
Like the multi-tap from the PS.
Exactly. Yeah. Like a multi-tap for Xbox Series X.
You stack them together. It's like it's very small, so they all have to be like right next to each other, and then it lights on fire because it gets way too hot.
It'd be like the NVIDIA SLI like click thing.
Yeah.
But it has 12 ports and it connects in a circle onto a bunch of Xboxes.
Yeah. Do you remember the Game Boy Advance had like, it was like a multi-tap, but it was like you could get 4 of them. Like it was just like
yeah.
You just do that, but you have
I had
like
no
20.
friends
It's just
with
like
Game Boy Advances.
This all sounds terrible. I love it.
They should totally make it. They should as a joke kind of, but make it functional. Let you play over a LAN.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take any extra like development resources.
They fucked up and they didn't put a handle on the Xbox Series X. So like, how are you going to take it with you to the LAN?
You're carrying like 12 Xbox Series X's, like the guy that can't hold all the limes.
Yeah.
The limes? Oh, I was thinking about the car washing person.
No, I can't remember if there might be lemons. It's like a black and white image, so it's hard to tell.
All right.
I know what you're talking about, Pat.
I Googled guy who can't hold his limes.
Yep, I'm sure that'll get there.
It is limes.
No, yeah.
Limes guy.
Stock photo. It's a classic.
Yeah.
I'm looking now, and this will probably be our
I was gonna say you gotta Photoshop in some Xboxes on.
Okay, I got it. Oh yeah, this is. I have seen this. Never mind. You're right.
It's ancient memes. Next news story, Valheim is super successful. We talked about it earlier, over 1 million units in their first week, and it's early access, right? So only, hopefully good things, and this helps them, put more resources in and do whatever they need to do to make it the best game it can be.
Yep.
They got to be good about their roadmap now.
Yep.
That seems like 1 million copies in a week is pretty insane, actually, if you think about it. Like, especially for an indie game like that.
Yeah.
If
Early
that would have
access,
happened,
yeah.
like let's say back in what 2000, when did Super Meat Boy come out? Like 2009, 2008,
Yeah, 2009,
somewhere around there. Like, did Super Meat Boy sell 1 million? Like, I don't even remember. But like,
I'm sure
the
it
fact
has
that
by
sold,
now,
like,
but
like the fact that it sold like 200,000 back then was like, wow, that's a huge achievement for an indie team. But now we have a team of 4 people that sold 1 million in a week. That's nuts. That's awesome. It says good things about the industry.
and it's cool that it's a genre that is kind of tapped
Niche.
out to a degree. Like survival games blew up and were so huge for a long time because of Minecraft, but now there's sort of, it feels like there isn't this, they're like quietly super successful. Like Ark is quietly a hugely popular game.
And Rust.
Yeah. But so it's cool to see one that's so indie, like sell so much on its launch week in that genre. Yeah.
Super Meat Boy came out October 20th, 2010, and it took until January 3rd, 2012. Team Meat announced on Twitter that the game had surpassed 1 million units, a million sales. So
2
like
years.
2 years, yeah.
Sorry,
It's kind of wild,
Just over a year and like change.
Oh, okay.
This feels like a game that it's opposite to what normally happens for these types of games. I feel like Twitch will normally pick up a game like this and then it becomes hugely popular because of the streamers. But I feel like I saw that it was charting already on Steam and there was hardly anyone streaming it yet. So it kind of went reverse. It made it through on its own merits, which is kind of rad to see.
Yeah, I think, Pat, when you brought it up last week, I don't think it even had a presence on Twitch, did it? I mean, I don't keep up with Twitch that closely, but
No, I mean, it did have, they started growing an audience, but yeah, I don't think it started. It feels more like it was popular on Steam first, and then it's also so funny. If you look at it, it's clear that they didn't expect to have this kind of success because the server browser is not equipped to handle the ridiculous numbers of servers. It's so simple. It's literally just like you can filter by your friends' games or by community servers. Yeah. And that's the only filter. And then you can type in a name and it'll filter out stuff that doesn't have the text. But like, it's constantly a nightmare to connect to my server because it's hard to find and the direct connect doesn't always work.
It's interesting. And I think we briefly touched on it with her when she was here, or it might have been before the show. I can't remember. Sorry. But when Victoria Tran was here, who is now the community director at Innersloth, the makers of Among Us, it's being on the development side and having a pretty small game suddenly get millions upon millions of players, in their case, like lots of millions. Like that's a hard thing to come at from a couple of different directions. One, now everybody is focusing on everything you're saying, which I imagine is stressful. And then 2, like your infrastructure, like the tools you have built, the like server browser or whatever, or servers crashing. But like you said, Valheim, it's all basically P2P servers, right? Like you're getting dedicated servers that run your stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So like they don't have centralized servers that they have to worry about so much. But
nope.
Yeah, like that's a magnitude of like that scale must be so tough with like such a small team. It's awesome.
Yeah, I imagine they'll be adding some people soon.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, frankly.
Agreed.
Well, speaking of problems, CD Projekt Red once again. This time, it doesn't seem to be their fault. Like, you know, we could get deeper into this, but they were the victim of a ransomware attack. Had this happened yet last week?
No, not when we.
Okay. Recorded. So yeah, they were victim of a ransomware attack, and the hackers said, "Hey, we have like source code for basically all your games."
Did you see the note they actually published alongside this?
Yes, they published the ransom note, which was just like a notepad.txt thing.
We got your stuff. If you don't want your, what did they say? Like, you want your you don't want your reputation to go further down the shitter than like it's like what? It's like the most edgelordy shit I've ever seen.
Yeah. definitely some angry nerds. So
Angry video
CD
game
Projekt
nerds?
Red said we are not paying the ransom. No, they said no like user data was part of the leak, but it sounds like maybe employee data
Like
was in
HR
there.
stuff.
Yeah,
Which that sucks. That's really bad.
it does. But they did. So they did not pay the ransom, and it sounds like on a deep dark web auction, sold the information sold for like $7 million US. I believe I saw.
I didn't hear that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
I believe I could be wrong, but
that's so weird to me though. Okay, so they're selling source code, right?
mm-hmm.
I assume that's what they sold. What's someone gonna do with that?
No
like,
idea.
They can't use it. Like if they use that source code to make a new game, that's immediately going to get picked up, and like that's it. That game is just going to be sold it's going to be so many breaches of copyright that like it's just going to be sued to the ground. So they can't do that. Like they can't find exploits because they're not really multiplayer games. So it's not like you're going to be messing with any kind of microtransaction stuff. So it's not going to break an economy. Yeah, Gwent is. Yeah, but they released Gwent on their own without selling it. That's the first one that came out. So like even that one, like the Gwent one is definitely a big problem for their microtransactions, but I don't know what the end goal is of buying source code like that.
Who knows? So source. So it's got
sending a message.
Game development engine for the games.
Well, I saw some speculation that it is possible that it is someone coming from a market where they can't really be prosecuted. So like they're in like Chinese and Russian markets, it's hard for CD Projekt to go after them, and they can use that stuff as building blocks for their own game development. Like the engine and stuff. Was what I saw being floated by some developers. I can't remember I don't think Rami was. I saw it because of a thread that he jumped into. I don't think he was one of the people saying that, but there were some people saying that like, hey, basically if you get these tools, you're dealing with like you're getting some of the best tools ostensibly in the industry that millions and millions of dollars were spent developing. So that it would be worth it to some developers who can use them without actually getting targeted or prosecuted.
Yeah. And as much shit as we have talked about CD Projekt Red over the past several months, like this just objectively sucks. Like, it's terrible. Like this is awful. That's awful. Like there's no reason anyone should do that. Like
there's good people that work at CD Projekt. Like I'm not saying everyone that works there is necessarily good, but like there are people there who this hurts. It doesn't help. It doesn't really. Like I agree with you, August, that it is to send a message, but I don't think that the message means what the people sending it think it means. And it doesn't do anything but harm people who were perhaps harmed the most by the development of Cyberpunk. So it's
the people who were
shitty.
crunching.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's really shitty. And
morale at that company has to be like,
oh yeah,
I can't even imagine what it's like in the day-to-day there. Right.
Yeah, especially if all of a sudden, like, I don't know how it works in Poland, but like social security number, social insurance number type stuff. Now, if that's just kind of out there with, what you trusted the security of the company's systems, and then all of a sudden, like you are now compromised and you have to throw up flags on like your accounts to be like, hey, I have to watch out for fraud, like by no fault of your own. Like that sucks.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully everyone affected by that, like the personal data stuff, is okay and gets out of there without too much trouble. Speaking of things that hurt and don't help anyone, Kingdom Hearts is coming to PC exclusive to the Epic Game Store.
What part of it hurts?
Coming.
The fact that it's Kingdom Hearts?
The whole thing. Every word I just said.
I should have had the sound sample ready. We have to play we didn't play when you start talking about Kingdom Hearts. No.
Oh.
Jeez.
I can't.
We're
I
talking
can't.
about Honey Pop again? I don't.
No,
Yeah, no.
I can't. I can't capture Utada Hikaru's voice. I'm sorry.
Oh.
No.
No,
There we go.
you-
That's what it is. That's what it
yes.
is. There we go. I lost
No,
it.
I mean,
I found it.
I was thinking more like the classic like Kingdom Hearts. I was thinking like not the intro movie, just the actual song.
Simple and clean.
Yeah. The like intro part to Simple.
Well, since it's going to be on PC, you know what that means. There's going to be mods for this game.
I don't want to
Yep.
We
know.
can get the simple and clean face mod.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll allow that. I just want
You can
to
play as Kyrie.
I just want to point out that like 90% of the cast of Kingdom Hearts are minors. So
You can so you can put in Keanu Reeves with a rock hard cock.
God
and
damn it.
that's-
This is what I was talking
Mickey
about.
Mouse is like 90.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Keanu Reeves is an adult, so whatever.
Timeless, some would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Mickey Mouse is the king, and he's definitely not a child in Kingdom Hearts. He's not the brightest bulb, but he's also not a child.
Okay, so you have a mod. Who do you replace Goofy with? Like who you subbing
What are
Goofy
you?
out with?
No, what?
Okay, who you subbing Donald out with?
Goofy
then?
dies for
No,
you.
I'm not gonna sub out the most powerful mage in
Yeah.
Final Fantasy history. Like, what are you talking about?
There's
you
every-
replace Sora with Kyrie, and that's it.
Yeah, okay, but only for the third game. I think that they should have made Kyrie the main character of the third game, because then you have one game with Sora, one game in the main three. There are no side games, but like in the numbered games, you have a Sora game, a Roxas game, and then a Kyrie game. That would have made
Kingdom
3
to a Roxas
much better.
game is generous.
Makes sense.
Yeah, fair, but still, it's what everybody thinks of when they think of that game.
But that is really funny reading their like statement from the producer on Final Fantasy or on Kingdom Hearts, because they're like, we've had a long relationship with Epic ever since Kingdom Hearts HD Prologue 2.8 or whatever. It's just like it's not that long.
That was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's right,
Is this
August. You were about to
permanent
say something.
exclusivity or time
It's
exclusivity? Do you guys...
they probably timed for like a year,
Probably.
but
Nobody else wants it.
yeah, there's like we're gonna pass.
Steam is like, no, this is too much even for us.
Gabe was
I'm-
like, not on my platform.
I'm actually surprised that it's going to Epic, because like when they announced the Game Pass Final Fantasy stuff, it seemed like Kingdom Hearts would have come along after.
Yeah.
It's funny. I might. I don't know. We'll see. There's a
Don't
part of me
do
that's
it.
like, I could play Kingdom Hearts again on PC
But why? You know,
because I love it.
that's fair.
Yeah, I
That
don't know.
goes
You
down
have a
rabbit
PlayStation, you
holes.
know. Like,
I
is
know.
there anything like how much better?
Oh,
guess
I
if
don't think
there's
it'll be any
quality of
better.
life mods.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not any better
Oh.
on PC.
Okay, so when Goofy dies for you, you replace him with Wario's model, and he goes, "Oh my god!" And then there you go.
Then he dies because he crashes his car off of a cliff, and then
And
Goofy
Goofy
comes
is more
back.
of a Waluigi.
If you could go around
like,
with
in stature.
Sora, Waluigi, and Wario, that would be
Oh yeah.
like Donald for Wario and.
And then when
It's not wrong. It's not a bad
you could
idea.
have Wario
Yeah.
fart for all the spells.
Yeah. What?
Hell yeah.
What if this was just a different and new game? Super Wario RPG.
Yeah.
Nintendo, call me.
Wario's Kingdom
With-
Hearts.
Kingdom
Kingdom
Farts.
Farts.
There you
Kingdom
go.
Hearts, okay.
There it is.
We got there.
Speaking of a Kingdom of Farts, Google has once again gone and done it. I have actually been on the same end as this person in the story. The developer of Terraria, one of the developers, creator, was locked out of their Google account. And because Google has absolutely shit customer service when it comes to this stuff, he just can't access any of his stuff. And because of this, decided to cancel Terraria for Stadia.
Do you know what's funny is at least when I interned at Google, which was 10 years ago. So it just doesn't mean anything for modern Google.
Wow. Disclosure. There's warnings and disclosures all over this
I
place.
think my opinions of Google have been pretty well outlined. But they have like they used to have legions of support staff, but it all was just to support AdWords.
Yeah.
None of it was there to support any of their consumer products at all.
I saw a ton of people in the thread that this person posted saying they got their AdSense account banned because they got it was like too popular. So like, no, we're banning your account because it got too popular. Yeah.
Really? They will do that stuff. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Oof.
No review, nothing. Just it's you're done.
They think of it as like you must be gaming it somehow and doing like exploiting it.
Man, Google's systems like
Sucks.
that suck. Like, I mean, look at YouTube with their fucking DMCA stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Just
Well, that's
random demonetization.
The other wrinkle is the devs' YouTube channel is connected to his Google account, so they're locked.
Yeah, everything. Like I mean, email, like everything would be.
I do think that like, fine, fuck you. The game's canceled is sort of temper tantrum response to the issue, but at the same time, it's their game, so whatever.
But I feel like it's been over a week. He said or something.
Yeah, it's bad for sure.
It took 2, maybe 3 weeks for it to be resolved on my end when I had the same thing happen. I was just randomly locked out, couldn't access like second accounts, like stuff like that. Just nothing would like get it through. Eventually, like someone on like a forum, like a community person, was able to escalate it to the support people, and they got me back in. But it's ridiculous.
I don't understand. Like, is there not like a manager of developer relations or something that could have helped them out? Like, I just
You would think so.
You would
Well,
think.
no, because they couldn't access their email, so they couldn't get in contact.
But like, it's not like that's a small account. Like, I imagine if, like, let's say they're using G Suite for all their communications in that company, and like Terraria has sold what, like 30 million copies or 30 or 40 something. Like,
That's a lot.
a huge number. Like, it's not a minor thing. Like, it's a large
no
project.
small fry. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
but at the same time, to Google, any video game is infinitesimally small compared to their like where they're actually making their money and their actual rhythm of business.
Yeah.
But more so the point that like if you suddenly G Suite, if that's what you're using, suddenly you can't use it, and then that just throws off your entire shtick. You're kind of screwed.
And this is the kind of stuff that we're like, Google Stadia technology, pretty cool. This stuff, total bullshit.
Terraria feels like a perfect game to play on Stadia too. You could stream it from basically any medium, computer, TV, phone, and then probably have an okay experience. So like,
yeah, especially if you're
I feel
doing
like it's a huge
multiplayer or
loss
something.
for the platform.
All 12 people won't be able to play Terraria Stadia.
13, I'm in there.
Yeah,
I'm
August
there.
is there.
Yeah, sorry. There's more than a dozen of us.
And I'm devastated, okay?
I mean,
Baker's dozen.
Sam owns a Stadia controller, right?
I think you used it like once.
Yeah. Or he just canceled it or returned it. I don't remember. I sold it.
He bought that Stadia controller off eBay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
he did.
he still probably
Forgot
has it
about that.
sitting in a drawer somewhere, and where he
Forgot
says
it was on
he'll
eBay.
use it. Sam is a Stadia defender.
Nah, I don't know if I'd go that far.
Stadia Stan.
Stadia Sam.
Standia.
Standia.
Stadia,
God, that sounds like
another
like an arcade.
game.
I'm pretty sure Standia is a thing.
Is it like something out of JoJo?
Standia and
Stands?
Deliver.
Nope, it's not a thing. So yeah, something out of JoJo.
All right, register it.
Something else that doesn't stand is
Yeah.
these this gender discrimination and at Riot.
You're telling me
it has been standing. For
Wait a
while.
minute. You're telling me Riot Games has continuing issues with harassment and abuse of its employees?
Riot Games, pillar of the community.
Yeah.
Riot
I don't mean to
Games.
make light of it, but like, Jesus.
How many times have we had this conversation on
Yeah.
this podcast?
yeah. Riot Games CEO under investigation for gender discrimination, and yeah,
But it almost makes sense, right? Like everything else feels like it's top down, so
Yeah.
everything else almost feels like a symptom of being enabled by a CEO who also.
Yep.
Is this the same? Was it the CEO? One of the complaints was that whoever it was, and I don't mean this as a joke to laugh at it. I'm actually not going to laugh, but like
going around and touching people's balls or whatever,
and farting on people like in their faces. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
If that happened where I worked, I would be like, oh, the lawsuits would be flying. Like, Jesus, it's awful.
It's just crazy because a lot of people working, this is their passion, right? Like they get into this industry because it's a passion project. Yeah. So they probably, I don't want to speak for anyone, but there are probably people who endure abuse because their passion drives them to want to work on a project.
Absolutely.
So and it's just especially twisted for me.
And the industry like pushes people to accept abuse as part of like, you know, if you want to be here, you need to put up with this stuff. And
it's one of the reasons that there's very few senior developers in games. It's because people leave to go to more stable places, to more civilized places, frankly. That's what happened with me. I worked in games and I was like, fuck this. And now I develop for just a regular software house. Like but when it gets to this, where it's people's like, you know, dream job levels, like people dream of working at Riot because it's one of the biggest and, you know, it has one of the furthest reaches around the world. And then you have to deal with that bullshit on a day-to-day basis.
It's also so frustrating.
Sorry, just one quick correction. Chris from chat says it was the CFO that did all that stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for that.
Were they one of the founders? Is that right? I believe.
Yeah, maybe. The thing that it just is like the cherry on top to me of how awful all this is like I see Riot is very into pushing the diversity of their teams at this point, like at this stage of their image rebuilding, which is, I mean, it's good that they're diversifying their teams, and it's certainly not the fault of the people that are like the people they're bringing in, but to see literally, I saw this news story on Twitter right above a like Valorant developer panel, and it was a very diverse group of developers. And it's just like, this is really important to stuff that you're doing. And clearly at the top level, they don't give a fuck about actually like following through on the reasons why it's important. And all it is to them is just like,
virtue signaling.
Yeah, that's what it is for them, and it's awful because it's a really important thing that they're doing, that they need to be doing, but there's no heart in it at the high level.
Yeah, like to be pessimistic about it, like you wonder if it's all just performative. Like if it's just an image boost. Like they don't actually. I'm
sure for their top management it is at this point when you see stories like this, and it sucks. There's it's totally different industry. But Reply All is doing a series on Bon Appetit right now and Condé Nast.
Really good.
Highly recommend checking out because I think there's probably a lot of parallels to this sort of stuff with what's happening there.
Who's doing that?
It's on Reply All. It's Shruti Penamanini that is the reporter on it.
I'll check that out. I watched a ton of Bon Appetit up until last summer or whatever.
Yeah, the first two, there's 2 episodes out right now. I won't go on a huge tangent, but she's taken a really good approach where she's only interviewing the people of color that are. She's only reporting
their story. She talked to other people.
Yeah. Sorry, she on the show. She's only including the interviews that she had with the people of color there to really highlight those issues. Even though she talked to like people all over the company, so it's really good. The current 2 episodes are about like the magazine mainly, but the next part's going to be about the YouTube channel and everything that happened there.
Nice.
Yeah, they call it the Test Kitchen. I think that's what the series is called. So absolutely worth a listen.
I do want to say that on the Riot stuff that like there are people there who are trying to like make it like a better place, and you know there's always we said it with like CD Projekt Red, like there are people there who are trying to improve it. Like we know people personally at Riot who are like,
that's what I mean.
That's trying to improve the culture there, but
that's why I make that point.
When it's top down, like, there's only so much you can do.
There's really good people there.
Yeah, absolutely.
if you don't, the thing that's so hard, and this is why I bring up that Bon Appetit thing, is if you don't have, those people are working really hard in spite of, against all this from the top management. But if you don't have the support of top level management in like corporations like this, it's very hard to make anything stick at a cultural level. And so I just feel a lot of empathy for the people there that are trying to do that work, because it's hard, and it's hard to be put in that position when management is like actively working against you.
Or like
sucks.
Undermining your efforts. Like you have put in a year of effort that is like catching hold here in this company, and then management does one extremely shitty thing, and then all of a sudden everything is back to square one, you know? And
it's like, it's definitely not that I'm arguing with you, but it's also definitely not one extremely shitty thing, right? It's the extremely shitty thing we're hearing about, but this means that it's probably happening every day. And it's constantly undermining that work. So it's, it sucks.
Totally fair. It's a good distinction to make.
And this happened today. This happened over a period of time. Now it's coming out.
Right.
And according to the story from the Esports Observer, this person in question is the CEO of Riot, not the CFO.
The CFO also is bad.
The CFO, the CFO was the ball touching fart person.
Okay, that's who. That was the CFO you were talking about. Okay,
Sorry.
I thought that was not the CEO, but that's my point, is that the whole management team there seems just like, and I don't know, the CFO might have left or something.
He was put on leave,
leave or something.
Sucks. And sucks because Riot's games are, with some issues with their community, pretty good right now. So
loving
Valorant. Valorant is good except for the kernel shit.
Well, it's not that does bother me. But I've told the story many times, but Valorant is just, the community sucks. So unless you have a full team of people to play with, it's awful. It's an awful experience. It's like the polar opposite of Hell Let Loose, where I've had a good time being like, hey, I'm not very experienced at this, and people help. It's like, fuck you, I'm going to call you slurs now for not being good at this.
I just want to shout out to the reporter on this story, James Fudge. It's a good name.
Oh, that's an excellent name. Like, for how shitty the story is. Hell yeah, James Fudge.
Can I take us off track for just like 2 seconds here?
Sure.
I have a question to pose for you guys.
Absolutely not.
To your
this
point,
is an on track only.
I just feel like I'm going on a lot of tangents.
So you're fine.
Shut me up if you need to. That's not my show. So
one piece of feedback: more dragon fucking.
Yes. All right. I thought I was going to get sued for that, but Greg and I have talked through it. I think we'll have a weekly segment. Anyway, to your point about Valorant, the Valorant community versus the Hell Let Loose community, at what stage does a developer owe anything to their community regarding like moderation of the experience of their community? Like it's I don't want to say like policing, but I've had similar experiences where I played Counter-Strike in the past. I played Valorant. I play with like a core group of guys, but if I go play a solo game, I almost always have a poor experience.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost an enabled poor experience.
It depends.
Like, is there any sort of responsibility there?
I think there is. I think it depends on the scale of the issue, and it depends largely on like how, like, Hell Let Loose, as an example, is a fairly small team. I don't think that they're as small as like Iron Gate, the Valheim people, but it's not a huge studio. If like people saying something shitty in the team chat on text or on voice or whatever, if they're not getting banned quickly, I can let it go. I mean, I understand. Valorant is, to me, a different issue because Riot has been doing this for a long time. So I feel like they should have good rules in place to prevent that stuff. And then a lot of it is developers can kind of tone set for some of this stuff. And if you make it very clear that toxicity isn't welcome through your general action as a developer, I think that it helps a lot. And Riot doesn't really address that stuff on larger platforms. I don't think that the team behind Valorant, they seem like cool people. I don't think that they want people to act toxic in their game, but they also don't put out big trailers about how like being nice to each other is cool. They put out big trailers of like, look at these guns and these abilities and kill each other. You know, like it's tough for me to think that they're really doing much. But on the flip side, you know, with League, they've come a long way in combating toxicity within the League of Legends community, to the extent now where there's still assholes. But like, I don't play that much League, but I play every now and then, and it's so much better to interact with people in that game than it was 10 years ago. It just depends, but I do think that they bear some responsibility for sure.
You have something like Rainbow Six Siege, which went, and even Overwatch did some stuff with like auto moderation. Rainbow Six Siege went so far as like you're kicked and you're banned for like, you know, a set time if you put in like certain keywords. I don't know how it works with the voice chat, but at least with like text chat, they're just like, detected, you're gone, you're out of this game. Then like Overwatch did some stuff with like, oh, GG easy, and like, but they're like, no, you're not, you can't say that, like, oh, good game or whatever.
I love that approach.
Where it makes it like passive aggressive, so
which became its own
thing, but like there's like an attempt there, misguided or not, but
it was funny. But so August, directly to what you're saying, I actually had like a multi-hour conversation with Victoria Tran about this exact subject.
Okay.
It wasn't like a recorded conversation. It wasn't anything like, but I'll try and sum it up where like she talked about how with Among Us, moderation is something they really have to think about. And it's an interesting problem for them because it's an all ages game. Like technically, like it's a family game. Like it's something that kids play. And it's like, okay, well, communication is the core of our game. How do we moderate this? Like, okay, what if we take away the chat and just have preset things that people can say? Well, that takes away like the core of the game. So they can't do that. And like, okay, do they start censoring everything? Well, it's like, no, because like some people are going to want to play that and they're going to feel oppressed if like we're taking away the freedom of speech, blah, 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 because it's like a big enough community that it's going to cause a stink. So it's like, it is something that developers have to think about. And Pat, what you said is actually pretty much where the conclusion laid. And it comes from, you know, seeing how the developers or the community managers or whoever interacts with the community. If they're promoting positivity, then that's going to float back to the community, hopefully. And if like they're kind of shitty, then, you know, that the community is going to be kind of shitty.
Silent.
Or silent. Yeah. Like if there's no interaction, then, you know, that's arguably worse. And then, like we talked about things like how Dota did it. Like, yes, you have the reports, and then people who get reported enough, they all get into the low priority queue. So they're playing with each other. And it's just like this super toxic bullpen of just people that like, you know, are terrible. And then eventually they want to get out of there and not go back. Or there's the commendation system where you're commending people who do a great job, who are positively contributing and like giving them actually like pats on the back rather than, you know, just kind of passive. So there's multiple approaches. I don't know if anyone is right because it is really contextual to the team. It's contextual to the community. There's no one answer, I think.
If you look at a game like Mordhau, which is a game that I really loved when it first came out.
Oh yeah, that's a cautionary tale, isn't it?
Yeah, and so like the developer basically like through their official forum channels were like, we're not moderating. It's not our job. We don't have any responsibility for this. And then like their forums quickly were taken over by white supremacists that were saying openly racist, white supremacist and sexist things. Like, you know, well, women can't hold swords. That's why there aren't women in the game kind of shit. And because the developer took a hands-off approach, first of all, I think the developer agreed with them, is my theory. Don't have anything to back that up other than their inaction. But I'm guessing that the developers saw that and said, yeah, we'd post this kind of shit. And the fact that they did nothing to moderate that on their forums made that immediately seep into the game. And so every time you're playing the game, you get, and I uninstalled it and don't play it specifically because the community is trash. That game's fun to play, but like, I am not going to subject myself to that kind of communication. I think another approach you can take when you're operating at a huge scale is that Call of Duty approach where you can just not you can just turn off chat,
right?
And you never have to talk to anybody. So
that sometimes ends up being reductive, though. Like in the case of like a tactical game, like a Valorant, like where communication is key. So like,
and that's the struggle.
I agree. Like sometimes it's just like you don't need to interact with this. I don't know. I've just been thinking about it a lot lately.
I will say, like, Infinity Ward's community developer is real cool, and she's like very anti-toxicity and stuff. And I do think that, you know, that game's on such a huge scale that it's impossible to get rid of it entirely. But Modern Warfare is a much better experience, even with chat on, than with it off. And it's because that sort of positivity and commitment to fighting toxicity that she has just trickles through the whole product and through all of the community, even if they're not really aware of it, because of the stuff, the subtle things that they're doing at a developer level to kind of influence communication, I guess.
Right. It's conditioning the community, for lack of a better term, which it's positive. And one last one I'll throw out there is Apex Legends. By just having a really robust system, like the ping system and all that, and like the call outs, like you don't necessarily need to communicate if you don't feel like if you aren't comfortable with it, like you don't have to, because the systems in place are so good.
And I think if you look at the tone of Apex Legends versus the tone of Valorant, Apex Legends is so colorful, has so much character. The characters themselves, the legends, are like diverse in terms of their like cultural backgrounds, but also diverse in terms of their like personalities and stuff. And you get this like very, very, it's very vibrant. And I think it attracts more people who want that sort of positive experience. And, you know, Valorant has a diverse roster as well, but the characters have so much less character to me than they do in Apex. And it feels much more like you can look at that and go like, well, I don't even give a shit what these characters, who they are, because all I see them as is a tool set. And so I think that is a great example of how like developing the game to be friendlier and more positive is a tool towards better community interactions.
Yeah. And like you said, with Mordhau, how inaction or just lack of presence can totally ruin it.
And to be clear, that's why I say that I assume the developers are cool with that stuff, because they don't do anything to dissuade it, and it's on their official forums. So to me, that's just an endorsement of like, we're fine with this. And it sucks. It's awful. Hoping the Chivalry 2 dev is not as shitty.
Well, yeah, thanks for letting me take you on that tangent. I've just sometimes you end up in a dark hole on the internet and you just find bad things, you know, and I'm just like, oh man, like, is anyone doing it right? So just something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah. We should get Vicky Tran on here again, and we'll just have a nice shootout talking about all this kind of stuff from a low level.
I would love that. I'll have my agent call her up.
Long distance. She's in Canada, right?
She's in Montreal. Yeah.
Get that collect card ready. Next up, EA and Bioware. This old chestnut.
Everyone's
taking asses out of Anthem.
Actually, they are reevaluating, or they are taking the time to audit the Anthem NEXT update that has been kind of like the Wetworks team has been in there doing the work to see what it would take to get Anthem updated and like kind of revamped. And maybe bigger butts. Maybe they're going to take the ass from Mass Effect and put it into Anthem. So everyone who's mad about Mass Effect right now and the asses can have a new game to play. So they make the people mad, and then they make them happy with another game.
Gets the people going.
It's the EA way. They're just, every javelin is going to be assless.
Javelin, that's what
flying,
it was. Right?
Yeah, flying through the air. Just if Iron Man was wearing assless chaps.
Javelin is such a good name for that stuff. Man, Anthem should have been cool.
It is, but parts of it were cool. The flying was cool. But like, just give one of the javelins a Miranda outfit.
No, give Miranda a javelin.
Oh shit.
It was one of those titles, man. when I first saw it, I was like, is there room with Destiny and like the Division out for another one of these? I still don't know.
Turns out, no, there was not.
Yeah.
The problem wasn't there wasn't room. The problem was it just wasn't good. Like,
yeah.
Like, I like mechanically, like I love flying around in the game, and like the ideas behind the abilities and that stuff was interesting, but it was just very shallow.
Yep.
Totally. And I think, okay, so like you kind of mentioned, Andre, there's the Wetworks team that's kind of been working away at it, chipping away at it. It's like a team of 30 people, I think, or something. Around there.
Yeah, basically they're not making the update, but they're like, okay, here's where we would want to go and what we would need to do to get there. And so now they're auditing to see, is this worth pursuing?
Yeah, and the two outcomes are essentially either yes, they get the team, which is about triple, so about a team of 90 people, or they cancel it and Anthem's done, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's really one of those two options. And honestly, even I can see EA, even if like what they propose is interesting and cool, I can still see EA dropping it because Anthem doesn't have that much clout. Like when we saw the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, we saw everybody reacting to that. Like people didn't really like Andromeda that much. Like it was an okay game, but like BioWare's name has been dragged through the mud a lot in the past few years, and Andromeda was a big part of it recently. But then they saw the reaction to the Legendary Edition trailer where people were like, oh, Garrus, fuck yeah. Oh, I'm in. Like, no problem. It's like they see that and they're like, oh, okay, so Mass Effect's still wonderful. But Anthem, like, no one's psyched about Anthem.
This is why I think if the update looks good, I think it's absolutely in their interest to do it, because if they can put out Anthem Next and it's good and like people like it, EA will have secured like social capital for the next decade.
Like SEO is done already for Anthem, you know.
Oh yeah.
We'll know what it is. True. So,
but maybe it goes through a Final Fantasy 14 style rebirth, like, and it comes out way better the other end, and that would be ideal. That'd be great. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that they can do it. What they showed in their like, here are some things that are happening with Anthem Next. I was like, it's no reason I don't see a reason here to play this over Destiny. So I don't know. The flying was fun, but I don't. It's kind of like the flying around as Iron Man in Avengers, not as good as flying in Anthem, but it's also fun. I don't know, like that game sucks. So your reaction is actually the reaction I have to the flying in Anthem. I thought the flying in Anthem was boring and like a chore. So
that's maybe exactly that's how I describe Iron Man's flying.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Is it's just like it doesn't hold up. It doesn't do. There's nothing there. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It's just like
so. Okay,
well, no, but it does because of the way they designed the world, and like that's how you get around. Whereas in Avengers, you have to get around all those areas, except for like, you know, one or two like story missions. You have to get around all those areas on foot too, because
I just didn't think the areas in Anthem were interesting.
I mean, they're not, but flying around was cool.
Okay, so Andre, Pat, and August, if you played either or both, tier ranks for flying around as Iron Man, like A, B, C, D, E, F, S tier. What is it for Avengers? We'll say.
B.
That's a F. Z tier.
It's not that bad.
Wow. Okay, and how about for Anthem for both of y'all?
Oh, that's S.
Up the same. B.
So
I do think the Anthem flying in Anthem is better than Avengers.
The problem with Anthem is that like they put a limit on it, and maybe that makes it
it sucks. It sucks.
That can make it interesting if you have like, because it is cool to like fly around and then fly, like, oh, I need to fly through this waterfall. That's like a neat idea, but in practice it's kind of annoying, especially when like the heavier one is like, I can fly like 60 feet and then I gotta stop.
Oh yeah, that sucks. But Pat, tier rank for Ace Combat.
What do you mean? S? Ace Combat is an S tier game. Ace Combat is incredibly good.
That's
S
where you should
for
be doing
Strange Real.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask, is there like a human style flying game that
Just
is S
Cause
tier?
3. Just Cause 2.
I can't. Oh, the
Far Cry
wingsuit.
3.
The wingsuit in
What?
Steep is real good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What else has the flying as a
Riders Republic.
There's some
Saints
old
Row
PS2 game
4.
I used to play where you were like a mech that could be a plane or a
Superman. Superman 64.
Nope.
I don't know that PS2 game. Do you
Dragon
remember
Ball
the name?
Z. I'll text my buddy and get back to you guys. But
PS2 game where you were flying around Dragon Ball.
so yeah, you were you were basically a mech suit, and you had 3 different modes. You were a plane, or you were like a half android / plane, or you had like a human style mode.
It's not Zone of the Enders, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say Zone of the Enders.
I
That Kojima
don't
banger.
think so.
The other thing would just be like a Gundam game, but
Yeah, it was Gundam like. That's for certain.
I can't think of any really good. Maybe that Iron Man VR game. That's supposed to be good.
Yeah. Either way, I don't know what they do to Anthem to make it better. Like,
No,
let's say the flying is a B tier, which is acceptable.
Whatever.
But
Yeah,
like
it's fine.
the rest of the game is D to F tier. Like,
yeah,
what parts of that do they have to raise up to make the overall rating?
They need to make the content, like the stuff you're doing, just more interesting. Because basically, and that's the problem all these games have. Like, the narrative wasn't interesting. The moment to moment service stuff wasn't interesting. The cosmetics were very limited, like Destruction All-Stars. The weapons were very limited. You couldn't change your weapons out in the field. Like, you had to come back and you couldn't change your abilities. So that is one of the things they said they're changing. That's just like a quality of life thing that should have been in the game from the start.
That game should have been Monster Hunter, but like a loot shooter. I mean, that's the way they structured it. Everything was there for it to be the kind of game where you go out for quick 10 to 20 minute missions where you're fighting cool monsters and getting loot to make yourself stronger. And instead it was they tried to do weird open world Destiny shit, and it sucked. I mean, because Destiny plays really well. I have lots of issues with Destiny, but the shooting in it is so good.
Yeah.
If you can't compete on that level, you're done already. And I think that's why it's going to be really hard for them to make it work.
So we all fall on the side that Anthem's probably toast.
I don't
so.
want it to. I don't want it to be like.
I don't either. I love.
I think
I'll tell you something I love about
chance.
Anthem. Some of the visual design and the look of the way the javelins looked and moved was really cool. So, yeah.
I want them to have their. I hope it does. I've been since they said Anthem Next, I've been this is their chance. I want to see Anthem Next, because part of me really liked Anthem, but then it was just there were too many it was death by 1,000 cuts, and then I finished it and I was like, I don't need to continue with the story because it's not that interesting. And I didn't buy it because I just did the EA access or whatever, Origin Premiere.
What if? Hear me out. What if EA and Bioware, in an unprecedented move, joined forces with Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics, and they put the flying from Anthem into
Kingdom Hearts 3.
They put the flying from Anthem into Avengers, and then Avengers is better because it has better flying. And then also they fix all the other bad stuff about that game that sucks.
So they take one bad service game and put it together with another bad service game, and suddenly it's good.
1 + 1 is 2, right? Come on, it's gonna work. I just want Avengers to be good.
I mean, yeah, I'd like that too. I don't know if Square will give it the chance, EA at least giving BioWare the chance to I don't know, I mean, Disney, I don't know.
So we don't have to go on a long tangent about it, but yeah, that's the issue, right? Is Disney. I wonder if Square has to keep it alive and has to put the effort in, or Disney's going to be hey,
excuse us.
This is the largest entertainment IP in the world currently. Because going to need you to fix this.
Square will go to hell and back for Final Fantasy. They'll do anything for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but That's their baby.
For their, but for Western studios, I mean, we've seen it time and again.
Yeah.
They
Look
don't
what
give a
did to
shit.
IO.
Yeah.
Crystal Dynamics.
I mean, like Crystal Dynamics, IO, Eidos. Is Eidos even still around? Eidos, yeah, whatever. And then like their Square Enix Montreal stuff, like the Hitman Go developers, and that team's gone.
They're very willing to jettison.
They put like such high expectations on the Western studios, and then they're like, oh well, you didn't meet this, goodbye. Yeah. Or you're on shit patrol.
Probably end up buying Avengers again on PS5 to play as Spider-Man like a chump.
Like a jump, hey. Like a jump, hey.
Yep. That's me.
Did it all for the Spidey.
Yeah.
DLSS is now available as a plugin for UDK. Alex, explain why this is on our news story.
Don't we have a whole podcast for this, though?
I'm kidding. Such a good transition, though. So DLSS, we don't have to dive too deep into it. I'm not going to turn this into coding fix.
Deep learning super sampling.
Yep. I think that is actually the acronym, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So that is the thing that with NVIDIA cards, your GTX 3080s and 2080s and all that kind of stuff, where it can render at like 1080p, so pretty relatively low resolution, and then upscale it dynamically to 4K, and it looks really good. Mm-hmm. And it's really effective. Like if you've ever tried it, it's fantastic. So you're getting like nice 4K ray trace stuff, but it's not as taxing on your computer. So it's a really great tool to have. And the games it works with really well, but the list isn't huge. Like it's probably like 50 or 60 games overall, and they're all pretty much AAA games.
And they're it's newer stuff.
Like a Red Dead or
like Control was a big one.
Like Control,
Cyberpunk actually has really good DLSS support.
You need it to play that game. The Medium needs it. One thing I do not care for with DLSS is it seems like developers are kind of leaning on it. The ones that are using it are leaning on it.
Sure.
And going, our game is going to run like shit at native resolution, but if you DLSS it, it'll be fine.
It's not a replacement for optimization, but I think specifically the games mentioned there are doing some pretty wild visual stuff that I get it for those, but I think it could be bad. Yeah,
like you got Watch Dogs Legion, you got Monster Hunter World. I'm just looking. You have F1 2020, stuff like that. So like stuff with pretty decent visual fidelity. Anthem apparently used it back in the day.
Huh. What? But, that's wild.
I didn't know that. That's funny. I was just looking at the list, and it's probably like 50 games. So it's not a huge list, but the fact that it's now available as a plugin for Unreal means any developer can just add it to their game for free, basically. So they don't have to worry about licensing it through NVIDIA. So NVIDIA doesn't have to curate it. NVIDIA has released this plugin so that you can integrate into the game. And I don't know how the licensing structure works there. I don't know if they're going to have to pay royalties or, put the logo at the start of the game or whatever, but
isn't the whole thing with DLSS though that basically they feed the game, like NVIDIA's running it in like supercomputers and like basically running as many permutations of the game as they can, getting as much frame data as they can to then like machine learn their way into these upscaling situations.
That's
so like
for sure. Yeah.
Does that like to use it? Doesn't that mean you also have to like go to NVIDIA and be like, hey, put our game on your supercomputer?
I'm not sure how they're actually handling that. That's a fair question because like if you're doing any kind of training, like look at stuff for deep fakes, like to do a deep fake on one person's face can take weeks depending on how you do it. Yeah. I don't know how they're actually handling the rendering for this or like the learning process for this because AI and machine learning requires all that shit. But conceptually, the fact that it's there is great because it means that you are going to be able to see it on a broader range of releases. And putting that tool in people's hands is just going to be better all around.
Yeah, definitely. The more accessibility for that stuff is good.
Yeah, and it means NVIDIA's being a bit less shitty about it because they have been a little bit shitty about who they let use it. It's kind of like whoever will line their pockets the most, basically. So it's a bit more consumer friendly is the wrong word, but developer friendly, I guess.
I wonder if this has anything to do with AMD cards being decent.
Maybe. I don't know. They finally have competition, so that could be it.
Who knows? Yeah, everyone's getting Fidelity FX or whatever. Who knows? All right. Well, that's it for news this week. Hopefully we didn't miss anything.
Oh, we probably did. It's fine.
Yeah. No Valentine's news this week. No who's the sexiest Turian in the galaxy?
Come on.
I mean we know.
No. But, Saren has some energy. You're like a bad boy. You like a Draco Malfoy type. I'm just saying, Saren is has that thing going where he's being manipulated by the evil.
Fix him.
I could manipulate that boy.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
For as many issues as the game had, Vetronix was pretty good in Andromeda.
I didn't play. I don't know who that. I don't know who that is.
She was the Lady Turian.
I'm just Garrus got that scar.
Garrus is too. Oh, okay, well, Saren's got some scars, emotional and
yeah,
otherwise.
Man. That's a scarred boy. If you say
and Garrus is just so confident. He intimidates me.
That's confidence is sexy.
He will calibrate
to some people. Yeah, I get it, but no, I don't know.
I see. Pat just wants to manipulate.
I also just like the first Mass Effect more than the other ones. So
yeah,
Garrus is in that first one.
Yeah, but also
not as much but in the first Mass Effect. Also,
Garrus is very adversarial at first in the first one. So
yeah, very much. C-Sec is not cool with Shepard.
I mean, Saren is too, but there's more tension with Saren. Garrus is more I would prefer to have nothing to do with you, which I get it. It's a turn on for some people, but
we were just talking about that earlier with what was it? I don't even remember. We talked about that exact thing earlier in the show.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah,
it's been a long show.
What did we discuss? Was who? Valheim? No, that doesn't make any sense.
Lady Dimitrescu.
That was last episode.
That's going to be every episode.
Yes, now until the end of the year. Now until Game of the Year.
I should play Resident Evil 8 this year. I should just do it.
Have you played 7?
Nope.
You should play 7.
Yep.
You should play 7.
I should play 2.
But
2 is also good.
2 is good. 7 is more pressing.
This is a Dark Souls and Ys year, so we'll see.
7 is a 6-8 hour game. 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure I can squeeze it in.
Maybe 6 to 9 if you're feeling nice about it.
Do you have to? I mean, if I just know who Leon and Chris are, is that all you need for 7?
Leon is. You don't need to know anything to go into 7.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know that I know it ties back into all the lore, but
at the very end.
At the very end.
You know who I am.
Yeah. But literally, it's basically a reboot.
Yeah, I know.
So
anyway,
reboot. Oh, can we do a reboot watch through?
Oh no, you said the word. Reboot's an activation word for Alex.
Yeah, let's talk about Enzo and Dot.
Look, you start a reboot rewatch, and then we can have.
We'll do a Scooby Doo podcast.
And Andrea's name is spelled ANDRAI because she's an AI. Andrea.
Nobody's there to hit the off switch.
That's gonna do it for episode 159 of the Gaming Fix podcast on February 13th, 2021. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all. I have been your host, Andre Cole, aka your partner's favorite Final Fantasy. You can find the podcast on Twitter @FixPodcasts, on Twitch @GamingFix, You can have fix.space to find more podcasts, comic fix, coding fix, reviews. I'm going to have a review of The Medium going up probably on Sunday. I hope that should be the intent. It's written. It just needs to be formatted and put in the back end, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
Valentine's Day, baby.
God. You got there.
Content.
Content with the content. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. August, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at It's Bread Time, and you can find Bread Radio on pretty much any podcasting app you listen to. So, thanks again for having me on, guys. It's been a real privilege. This was fun.
No.
Yeah, it was great to have you. Definitely.
Anytime you want, also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll have to get you guys on Bread Radio as well at some point.
Sweet.
We'll have our people talk.
When do your episodes come out?
We typically record on Thursdays and post on Friday, but we can make something work. I know everyone's on different schedules.
Oh yeah, no, that's real nice. Just, for the listener, so they know. I don't know how many people actually listen to this whole 3-hour show, but those who made it, they can find out. Oh, okay, got to look for those episodes on Friday. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at PJC Plays, where I'm posting hot Dark Souls fits as I come across them.
Okay. And Alex, where can people find you?
You can listen to the latest episode of Coding Fix, which came out on Wednesday.
What's this one about?
It's all about binary bits and bytes. It's explaining what all of that means. So if you've ever wanted to know what 16-bit and 64-bit and all that means, hey,
I'm more of a 69-bit fan myself, but
yes.
Valentine's content at the end.
You can also, speaking of Valentine's, you can also check out Comic Book Fix number 4, which came out a little late, but we made it yesterday, where we talked about Venom, the most romantic of superheroes. Sorry, Venom, that character.
Is this a reference I'm not getting?
Yes,
the Eminem song.
There's an Eminem song at the end of the Venom movie where he goes Venom, and I make Sam say it that way multiple times in the episode because it's funny.
Wow. I think I don't know. Sam's reading One Piece now. He's messaging me privately about his One Piece obsession now. He's telling me he's going to be solo parenting tomorrow and how his child just watches himself now, so he's just going to read One Piece all day. So maybe there'll be a One Piece comic fix in the near future. We'll see. One Piece fix, baby.
Hat pirate.
Yep. He's just but a wee babe early in the adventures. But the whole crew
only chapter 200.
No, not even. He's in 50 maybe.
How many chapters are there?
Over 1,000 now. We're 1,003 now, I think. I have to see. There's probably a new one I haven't read yet. But anyway, thanks for joining us once again, August. We'll be back next week with another episode of the podcast. Same time, same place. Goodbye, everybody. Stay wet, gamers.
Yeah, you didn't forget.
You removed it from the document, but I will not forget. I need to write a Post-it note and keep it on my monitor or on my mic.
Or just be wet.
That's my secret cap.
Play some Valheim.
I'm always wet.
Okay, bye.
Okay. I'm stopping this recording now.